Hello, everyone. Welcome to the El Cajon City Council meeting. The meeting is now called to order, and I'll ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Wills is absent. All others are present.
Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. The city clerk posted orders of adjournment of the October 14th, 2025 meeting and the agenda of the October 28th, 2025 meeting in accordance with state law, City Council, and Housing Authority policy. There are no presentations on today's agenda. Agenda changes. Does staff have any agenda changes?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'd recommend that we move agenda item number 10, which is the tobacco retailer license ordinance discussion, before we consider the public hearing items 6, 7, and 8. I think partly because I think the council, when you had this discussion initially, you had talked about having in that order, and because the format of our agenda usually puts public hearings first, that's the way it finds. But I think it'd be useful to have that conversation before we have agenda item 6, 7, and 8.
Okay, thank you, Graham. Do we need to vote on that?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make that a motion. Second. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Angela, do we have any? We are now at consent item. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion according to the recommendation listed below. With the concurrence of the City Council, a council member or person in attendance may request a discussion of a consent item at this time. Council members, do you wish to pull any consent items? Staff, do you wish to pull any consent items?
No, sir.
And Angela, do we have any cards?
There are no consent item cards.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve consent items? So moved. Second. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right, we are at public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, City Council and Housing Authority members may briefly respond to statements or questions. An item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do you have any speaker cards for public comment?
Yes, sir. We have 7 speakers. The first one is Truth.
Hi, Truth. Welcome.
Hi there. You know, it's a big game. If you show up early to be responsible, then you have to be first. Okay. One of the first places I ever lived in California was here in El Cajon. In an interview with the Eagle and Times, I called it San Diego County's friendliest city. It hasn't changed much in some ways, and in other ways it's changed dramatically. Beef and Bun, which I thought was going to be long gone, is still there, while new great places like Shove Cafe are now here. I also, I hope the Friendly Foundation is going to stay and also embrace the slow additions and improvements that are needed. For Parkway Plaza, I like a lot of the ideas people provided at HauntFest, including a park and a food hall. What I don't want is a United Nations approved 15-minute city, as I've seen the city's actually already signed on to in some ways. At the last meeting, Angela read 5 minutes of building code titles, and my food-centric mind said that was worth a $58 cafeteria meal. Question, the February resolution expressing concerns with SB 54 and establishing El Cajon as a non-sanctuary city, was that resolution pure political theater as opponents have claimed, or is it doing real damage and needs to be rescinded as opponents have also claimed? Like, which one is it? Some activists seem to be saying that as long as ICE don't wear masks and drive marked vehicles, they will not oppose immigration enforcement. Is that true? ICE agents, will the rioters stop rioting, doxing ICE, and fighting ICE agents trying to execute the law? Or is everything just an excuse to support open borders and slave labor? Because those who came here to create chaos acted contradictorily. After yelling, they basically sang Kumbaya. They also recited the Constitution of the United States of America, yet support illegal immigration against the Constitution. Incidents that bothered me at the last meeting, the unwarranted hate when Kraft campaigned on the backs of immigrant workers after spitting with anger from a solitary podium outside before the meeting, and the alleged reverend with enough hate to hijack the mic and meeting. So I still encourage the removal of any and all disruptors of these meetings after 2 warnings to stop. Graham's life should not be put in jeopardy to end a disruption. The police should have immediately been ordered to escort out anyone who selfishly disrupts the meetings. To not do so encourages more of the same, so I'd like a policy change on that. I also want to see term limits and extremely lowered campaign fundraising limits, because right now El Cajon has a Wild West system, and the political union progressive puppets know it. Loopholes will benefit special interests and harm the city. Change it. And I'm disgusted by the dangerous roundabout on El Cajon Boulevard with ugly stack and packs right at the American Recycling Center. Imagine the sounds coming into your $600,000 box unit. This design definitely does not help pedestrian safety. The roundabout is incredibly confusing to drivers, and the crosswalk is right where drivers turn without stopping. It's a recipe for disaster, especially if anyone actually wanted to visit the Hells Angels as a pedestrian. Lastly, I request the mayor and council draft a letter in opposition to Newsom's Proposition 50 in order to protect voters' rights and equal representation of all voters in the state of California. No on 50. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Allison.
Thank you for coming.
Sorry, sir. Allison Smith.
Hi, I'm Allison Smith, a lifelong resident of El Cajon. I just want to say thank you to Mayor Wells, even though he's not here, and Steve and Phil for voting to cooperate with ICE. I fully commend and support this city council in doing that, and I'm very pleased with that in contrast to other people who don't like it, but I want you to know that I do like it and appreciate it, and I feel safer in this city because of it. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Susan.
Hi. I'm just here today to say thank you to Bill Wells, Steve Goebel, and Phil Ortiz for your exceptional leadership and steadfast service to our community. Mayor Wells, even though he's not here, I always look forward to his annual benefit concert supporting our local homeless outreach. Not only does it make a real difference, but his band honestly plays better than most famous musicians. Steve Goebel, it was an honor and a blessing to offer even a small helping hand to your tiny house project for homeless women. The heart and persistence you pour into that mission truly inspire me. And Phil, what can I say, but you bring heart, humor, and integrity to every conversation. All 3 of you have shown not only vision and compassion, but also incredible endurance navigating intense criticism and online chaos with grace, focus, and genuine care for El Cajon. Our city is stronger and more hopeful because of leaders like you. Thank you for standing firm and continuing to serve when it would be easier to walk away. Thank you.
Brenda Hammond.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, it looks empty up there. I just wanted to say I appreciate your police department, and I appreciate all they do and all the trained law enforcement, everything they do. I'm having a problem with some of these security companies. They need to start vetting their people. They're hiring people that aren't qualified. So, and with I wasn't even going to come up and talk today, but with my experience I had today here in El Cajon, some of them mess with people just because they're homeless. Thank you.
Next speaker is Chris Taylor.
Greetings. My name's Chris Taylor, and I've lived here for 30 years and have owned a property on Pepper Villa Drive for 24 years in Council Metchell's District 2. That being said, your implementation of all the rules and how you guys govern this city is the reason why we are still here after retirement. Now, that being said, I want to address the absolute speeding issue that goes on down our street from the hours of 7 a.m. to 8:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. And I am formally requesting that Mr. Mitchell implement our street as another emergency contingent street to get something done. Excuse me, I'm really nervous here.
We're all friends here.
Yeah.
Don't stress.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, if anybody's ever seen someone drive 80 miles an hour in front of your house, it's the most scary and terrifying thing you'll ever witness, other than someone pointing a gun at you. It's ridiculous. Myself and many neighbors, we have contacted the El Cajon Police Department, and they don't do any enforcement. They don't even get back to you for 6 weeks. We never see anybody down there, you know, and I don't understand why I just think it's ridiculous that I have to be up here wasting your time and mine when someone should come down and do something about it. If anybody knows the area from Pepper to Bradley, people leave Pepper and drive south down our little street to get to Literacy First Charter School. And if anybody knows Hurry Up and Wait, these people they don't care what's going on in our neighborhood. They need to get in line as quickly as they can, 80 mile an hour down our street, so they can wait to drop their children off. And I can guarantee you that none of them live in El Cajon. They're all incorporated San Diego County residents that just use our street as a frickin' runway. And it's ridiculous. Now, come on, you guys. Let's do something about it. Right? I mean, you just seen 3 little children get hit by a car in San Carlos. One died, and people told San Diego to, hey, do something about it. And does this need to happen here? I mean, you don't need someone to die before something happens. I'm out. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, could we comment?
Sure.
Mr. Taylor, thank you so much. I'm talking to you, man. He's my neighbor, and yes, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. He's right, and I don't know if there's anything that we can do. I've been down that street, took it this morning just to cruise by and see how it was. And we do have a lot of speeders, and we have Literacy First has increased their student population, so the traffic has increased quite a bit. And I know that we've had other residents come here and speak about the traffic and the speeding. And I believe, wasn't there a traffic study done recently, Mr. Mitchell?
Correct. Yes, there was.
All right. So hopefully we can do something about it. Go ahead.
Phil?
Thank you. This is probably the second most received feedback complaint we get from residents behind homelessness. And I know that in my district, we're experiencing people using side streets or residential streets as thoroughways to get around lights and just speeding through. It sounds like that's what you're experiencing as well. Okay. So I think we just last council meeting voted a pilot test for speed bumps, speed humps, I should say, to be installed on residential streets as a deterrent. And it's getting, I mean, I'd say in the last 4 years, I've been talking to my neighbors, in the last 4 years, it's gotten a lot worse in and around the town. So I hear you loud and clear, Pepper Villa. I got it on my radar, and we're going to make sure staff continues to explore this and come up with ways, creative engineering ways to slow down traffic, because there's really no other way. Yeah, if you want to come back up. Yeah.
There is a street that intersects.
Oh, why don't you come up to the mic so you're picked up on the recording?
Yeah, Council, you're now starting to have an actual discussion where you're
Okay.
having an agenda item. So I would recommend you probably not go back and forth with questions and answer in dialogue.
Okay.
This is just something I want to. There, I watched the where you guys talked about traffic bumps and all this other stuff. You first started that you said that it's possible to put stop signs. You know that might be a deterrent. There is absolutely there's a street, Flint Street, that intersects Pepper Villa about a third of the way down, right when they are getting to their speed. You can put a stop sign right there, a three-way stop. And I got a great idea. Just remove the speed limit sign that says 25 mile an hour on the post and put a stop sign right there, because no one pays attention to that sign anyway. And just put a stop sign there. And that would help with traffic enforcement. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Gary?
Next speaker, Bobby.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Gary. Yeah.
Do we want to take a third comment?
I think you can comment. It was getting into becoming a dialogue, so that was the concern.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
So I'd like staff to look into a stop sign at either, it looks like Pepper Villa Court or Flint. Your choice. Look into it, please. The second comment is, if this is really related to just the school, please talk to the school and say, we're hearing this. Let's have a conversation about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Next speaker, Bobby T.
Council and staff.
Bobby, where's your dog?
I was going to bring him today, but you know what? I just came from arraignment court because I went to the arraignment. I thought I was going to the arraignment of the driver that hit that 12-year-old boy on Park and Ballantyne. I wanted somehow to communicate with those parents to bring him here with me today, because when I watched the news on Thursday night, on that exact same corner, Park and Ballantyne, I was hit and run, March 1st, 2024, a year and a half ago. So this kid was hit. They found the driver, thank God. They didn't find my driver. I survived the crash, spent the weekend in the hospital. They missed the dog and they got me. Anyway, the same corner, that's not a coincidence. It's a half a block from a school. As a matter of fact, Mr. Mayor, a couple years ago, lived directly across the street in those condos from that intersection. He lived there too. And because I was hit, the kid was hit, the school is there, you got a curve coming around from Main Street, a curve coming around from Madison. Maybe we can do better on that intersection. Mr. Goebel used to talk about putting yellow lights in the pavement. They press a button and they light up. It's right behind this building over here too. But especially with the children in that school a half a block away. Maybe you can put crossing guards there, maybe a cop for 15 minutes. I'm not talking about stop signs because there's traffic lights there. They go through the traffic lights. And to piggyback on this gentleman's story here, Main Street, the kid punched it to 125 miles an hour and hit that Amazon truck the other day. There was a lady hit and run in front of El Cajon Valley High School on Sunday night. So, and you know, I've talked about enforcing traffic violations before. I know Mr. Mitchell has said we can't put a cop on every corner. Well, no, but once in a while, put one on a corner. Write a few citations. Maybe the word will get around to the kids to quit speeding. or and hopefully more license plate readers to catch these hit and run guys. They don't have license, registration, insurance. They buy a car, they knock on your door, they buy a car and they drive it. Whoa, wait a minute. Let's get it smogged. Let's get it registered. That's why these guys, that's why they take off and they're hard to find. So it really hit home when I saw on the news this kid was hitting the exact same corner I was, and only about a year and a half ago. So if we could do something about that intersection, especially with the school being right there. And I talked to the principal the other day, and he said, yep, it's a concern. Try and talk to some of the parents and try and get somebody down here and say, hey, try and do something with this intersection. So, and when I got hit, I remember, I think the officer in charge told me the traffic division of El Cajon Police Department had two cops in the traffic division. Now I've heard about a month or two ago there was 6. It's got to be a help. Maybe we can increase it to 10, start writing citations. How about even the daylighting things with the curbs? San Diego was made $200,000 writing fines for that. I don't think El Cajon is enforcing that law. But my main concern was that intersection. I was hit, this kid was hit, the kid has survived. They put him in a self-induced coma, he came out of it, he's alive, and they caught the driver, a local driver from, Lakeside. So anyway, so that's my beef, do something about that intersection. It's only 2 blocks from here. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you, Bobby.
Okay.
Question. Sure.
Oh, Steve, did you have a comment?
For city manager, when somebody's cited for speeding, are there escalating penalties such as 20 miles and less over the speed limit is this penalty? If you're up to 40 miles and over, now you add a charge of reckless driving. If it's over this, then you are, is there an escalating penalty for the amount of speed?
I believe the vehicle code does set that, and there's includes school zones. There's a lot of factors, but that's regulated by a California code, not by El Cajon code.
And I guess probably I'd like to know of the people that I'd like to get a report of the people that we've cited for speeding. What has been the penalty? What has been the charge? Is it simple speeding, or are we charging them for reckless driving as well, or endangerment? I don't need to know right now.
No, I think we can pull that data. We may not know what the fine part is because we're not part of that. That's not our thing. We don't. For the public's information, we don't make money off of this. It costs us money, so the state gets the majority of the money. I don't know if we would know the fine amount, but we could identify at least the violation.
I think what I'm hearing from the public right now is they're saying, how tough are we getting on speeding? Is it a simple citation for speeding, or are you getting tough on these guys with tougher charges? That's what the public is saying today.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, we have 2 more speakers.
Okay.
The next one is Mary Davis.
Welcome, Mary.
Hi. So Mary Davis, Government Watchdog and Accountability Partner, and I just wanted to piggyback off some of the prior speakers. Thank you for bringing your concerns forward. I too see my issue in El Cajon as a red light running, but it's all tied in together, and it all really is tied into where our society is headed with incivility. If we simply followed the golden rule, treated other people like we wanted to be treated, drove like our kids lived in that neighborhood, sadly, I'm not sure where we can go with that, and I'm sorry that the socialist and the anti-ICE crowd isn't here today, because what I want to highlight is the opportunity cost. A lot of these problems are solvable with more enforcement, simply getting more officers and deputies out with a radar gun, make drivers wonder, is there a cop on this road? But instead, we're spending $5 million a year at the county for illegal immigrant defense fund. And as government, what I want people to do is govern first, politics second, or last, or not at all. Put the interests of the people first. And without opportunity costs means that $5 million could be paying for enforcement. but instead we're taking on things that aren't even in our purview. So I want everybody to frame when one service is not getting funded and others are, that's opportunity cost, and we need to be using our taxpayer resources stewardfully. I'd also like to go into the last meeting and the behavior that we witnessed here, the disruption. First of all, I thought you handled it very well, clearing the dais. I'm sorry it came to that. It was very unpastor-like behavior by the left-wing radical extremists that took over the chamber. I have talked to people that are actually afraid to come to this chamber because of the crowd or the disruption. And so it is an impediment that is blocking participation. So also, as good a job as Mr. Mitchell did, I don't think it should fall on the city manager to, you should have cops or security or somebody come down and take that. And lastly, for whoever handles clerk or whatever, please consider this my formal public records request. One of the women who sat up here, and I think it was Myrene, talked about, read scripture and lectured people, turned around and very uncivilly confronted, threatened almost a woman in the back corner. So I would like the security footage from the October 14th meeting of that confrontation, anything, and I'm calling on or whatever the lady's name is, to publicly issue an apology to Brenda. That was completely unacceptable. We should have a meeting of different ideas, civilly and engaged, and never use it for intimidation tactics. And Brenda, I'm very sorry you had to go through that. So thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
The last speaker is Mayor Ryan.
Hello, I'm Maris Ryan, and you're not going to film this, are you, Truth? No, okay, no, thank you. Hello, Council and Mayor Pro Temp. I raised my 3 kids in El Cajon. They went through Granite, and they went on to University of San Diego, University of San Francisco, and UC Berkeley, and they are now proud citizens and paying taxes, and I really enjoyed my experience watching them go through the education here. I now have 3 grandchildren who are doing the same, going to school in El Cajon. I don't have the same feeling of hope, though, and it's based on, and this is going to be, let me just give a footnote, or I guess it's a prologue. I am not a rabble-rouser. I am not a left-wing radical. I am an ex-faculty of Cuyamaca College. I led the decathlon in my elementary school that I taught in logic, and they got first place. So this is what I'm thinking. I just heard from the audience that there's not enough police that are taking care of our streets. I hear from another source that there's a lot of support for this police force in El Cajon cooperating with ICE. My problem is that not that they wear masks. It's not that they have unmarked vehicles. It's that they are breaking the law. They're breaking the law. They're going against SB 54. And for all of the law-abiding citizens in this room who decried the behavior last week, which I was not a part of, I just want to give it pause for thought. I also want to express my fear and despair at the kind of leader that we have at the top of this country. Not political. So this is not about politics. This is about morality. So I'm supposed to tell my grandchildren, 14-year-old twins and a 17-year-old who's going out in the world, that it's okay that their president says the following. At Charlie Kirk's funeral, President Trump, your president, not mine, stated, "I disagree with Charlie liking people." Quote, and this is from Fox News, "I hate my opponent and my opponents, and I don't want the best for them. I can't tell my grandchildren that the leader of our country has spoken those words, and nobody or lots of people think it's okay." Again, I'm not sure. No, I'm very sure. I would not tell my grandchildren, your president, you have to behave, you have to follow him no matter what. And this is what he just said. He posted on Truth Social that he would defecate on the people on the sidewalks who were expressing their right of free speech, AKA protesters. Now, I don't know how all of this is amalgamating into anything that makes sense to me as a parent, a former teacher, and a grandmother, but there is something off kilter here. So thank you for letting me speak. Thank you for letting me go over time. And I appreciate the fact that this is a democratic session and anybody can say what they feel and believe.
Thank you for coming.
No other speaker cards, sir.
Okay, I have a couple questions for the city manager just to make sure that the air is cleared. Mr. Mitchell, do our police officers follow SB 54?
Yes, the city of El Cajon and our police department follows SB 54.
And has anything changed since the resolution that this council passed on a 3-2 vote?
Not on the way we operate as a department.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to allow you to come up.
As I did as a teacher. So please explain to me the prevailing belief that El Cajon police officers have the opportunity to cooperate with the ICE agents. Is that accurate?
Mr. Mitchell?
We've said this from the very beginning. The resolution does not authorize, grant, direct the police department for the city of El Cajon to work with ICE. It specifically states that the city shall follow SB 54. So it's case closed. I'm not quite sure where the rumor came from. I think it's from folks that are told the truth, don't want to believe the truth because it doesn't fit in with their relative truth, and they continue to spread those lies.
Well, this is news to me. And if you could explain to me why there is this rumor, why
I can do so
people-
offline, not at a council meeting. If you leave your number, I'll give you a call.
When would you be calling me?
I can call you
What are
today.
your office
I can
hours?
call you today.
That's wonderful. When are you off this meeting?
Whenever this meeting is done.
Okay.
I cannot predict.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to come back up here. I can't wait to share this information. Maybe if you had told all those people last week that that was the story, they wouldn't be upset. So,
They have been told many a time.
Actually, they have been told many times.
and so there are people still coming up to this podium in support of ICE cooperating, but vice versa. So I think this is great. I will follow this up. Thank you so much, and I look forward to
Okay.
your call, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you. Okay. We have no written communications on today's agenda. We have 3 public hearings on today's agenda. And so we had voted earlier to do the let's see.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I believe it's we're moving to agenda item number 10.
Okay, let's go.
Great. So thank you so much. Noah Alvey, Deputy Director for the Community Development Department. Today we're here to talk about the Tobacco Retailers License Ordinance. So on July 22nd, the City Council did discuss regulations related to permissible tobacco display areas. And in conjunction with that discussion, the Council wanted to discuss further fines and penalties related to violations of the Tobacco Retailers Ordinance. So starting here, these are the fines and penalties that are in place as of today. So if a tobacco retailer were to sell to a minor, the initial fine for a first violation is $2,500. There is no, at the first violation, there's no suspension of their ability to sell. With a second violation, there's a 60-day suspension, and then the fine is assessed a second time for $2,500. And then on a third violation, there's a 120-day suspension, and then the fine is once again assessed. And then if there is a fourth violation within a 36-month period, that's when the revocation of the tobacco retailer's license occurs. So these are some of the historical violations that we've had over the past 5 years. You can see in 2020, we had 24 violations, as well as in 2021. They have been going down since that time, with 23 violations in 2022, down to 14, and then 5 last year in 2024. The interesting thing to note with regards to the fines is that the current administrative fine of $2,500 is actually set as part of the city's charter. So there's not an ability to increase the fines unless there were to be an amendment to the charter, which would essentially require a vote of the people to increase that amount. So for the proposed alternatives for the council to consider today, it's really just looking at increasing opportunities for suspensions. So here, the idea would be to add an automatic 30-day suspension with the first violation, since there's just a fine right now in conjunction with the first violation. And then you could continue to add suspension, increase the suspensions with second and third violations for an additional 30 days. The other option, which is the fourth point, would be to increase the violation period for testing. So as of right now, there's a 3-year period under which if you get the second or third violation or the fourth violation where you can be revoked. So right now that's just 3 years, and then after 3 years you essentially reset. So if the council were to increase that penalty period, violation period, up to say 4 years or 5 years, it would put more. It would be, if the tobacco retailer were to sell during that period, then there would be the opportunity for them to trigger those third and fourth violations. So essentially giving him more time on probation. And then last option would be a variation of any of the above that council would like to direct. So this is not a public hearing item, and we do not have an ordinance, so we're just asking the council to discuss the information that was contained in the report, to accept the report, and then you can either direct staff to return with amendments to the municipal code. This is part of Title 8 of the municipal code, so it doesn't require review by the Planning Commission. So we would just return with an ordinance if the council so directs. Alternatively, you could just provide other policy direction to staff to return with. So that concludes my presentation.
So we have 97 tobacco licensees.
Mm-hmm.
And out of those 97, in the last 5 years, 90 of them have sold tobacco to children.
Correct.
So that seems like an awfully lot. I've also heard that a lot of times the tobacco retailer will make a change in ownership, whether it's bogus or not, I don't know, but there have been those accusations. Has that happened very often?
For the one violator that made it to the fourth violation and revocation, they did change ownership. Staff closely coordinated with the city attorney's office in relation to that to make sure that there wasn't, any improprieties that were occurring with that transfer.
Okay. Council members, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Alvey. So what you want us to discuss is increasing the time from their violations. So instead of how many violations they got within a 3-year period, you want to increase it to either a 5 or 6 year, or a 4 to 6 year.
Yeah, essentially yes. So right now you get one violation. You're on parole or on probation for a period of 3 years. And so if you get that second or third violation, you can move towards revocation. So that period could be one of the options council could consider is extending that period to go up to 4 or 5 years. So that way, if there's multiple violations, there's a better opportunity for revocation of their license.
Okay, so I misunderstood that. So if they have multiple violations, if we decide to make that change, they are on probation, so to speak, and cannot sell or cannot get any violations within that 4 to 5 year period?
So it escalates. So with the first violation, there's no suspension of the license. With the second violation, you get the suspension. But then after you serve the suspension, you can go back to selling. Then if you get the third, you move up to that higher 120-day suspension.
Which means you can't sell within...
just for those 120 days.
Okay.
So the options that we presented were essentially to increase those suspension periods, to increase those by 30 days each.
Right. I mean, so basically, we're clamping down on them.
Yeah, essentially,
little bit more.
by not allowing them to sell tobacco, it really cuts back on their customers' ability to purchase those products.
Right.
So it's going to hit them in the pocketbook. So by extending those suspension periods, it would make it more of a penalty to them for selling to minors.
Right, okay. Because that's the whole purpose of these things, is to not sell to minors. And
Right.
and you know, we do have some retailers who do have multiple violations, and it seems like the fine is not enough of a deterrent. The 120 days is not enough of a deterrent. So what's it going to take for them to stop selling to kids?
Right.
And I'm tired of hearing about all of these violations and being, you know, these stores being caught selling to kids. They know what the rules are. And you can't tell me that it's a new employee that, they didn't know. That's upon the owner of the business to educate their employees not to sell to kids. And that's the whole point. So thank you very much for clarifying that. Thank you.
Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Kendrick. Thank you, Noah, for all your hard work on putting this together. So I guess my question, or maybe concern, is we don't have the ability to increase the fines because it's connected to our charter. What is the process? And the process for changing the charter is via a vote of the people on election. And there's no so we're unable to do any of that. Is that for all fines within the city? And there's no way to. Can you walk me through the process of changing that? Maybe tie it to CPI. I mean, I'm sure $2,500 was a lot in the '90s, but now, you know.
Yeah, I share that same concern. I mean, 100 years from now, $2,500 will be the cost of a soda, right?
Right.
So, there probably is a time where we need to go back out to the electorate and do some charter changes, just on a lot of things. We haven't addressed business licenses, TOT. There's a lot of things that we could probably look at.
Okay.
Our procurement policies. So at some point, that may be something the council wants to put on its next goal setting, to look at some opportunities to open the charter up.
But right now, so it sounds like, and I applaud our Noah and Tony's team for doing this. It sounds like in lieu of being able to increase a fine, we're going to extend the amount of time that they can't sell, because that's still going to be a monetary fiscal impact to those businesses.
That's actually the bigger impact. As you recall, when we had this conversation not too many years ago, there was no hesitation on increasing the fine amount, because we had a lower fine amount. We were at, I think, 1,000.
Yes, correct.
It was the concern about even losing a day, because that's where the real financial penalty comes into.
Okay, so,
and I think we're not recommending one direction or the other. We're just giving you, here are the options. You guys talked about, do we need to look at it? How is the program working today?
Yeah.
If we don't think it's working well enough, do we need to tweak it to encourage? I mean, I think if you go back to that table, it looks like the policy that you established is doing really well on second violators. I think that's a win. And the fact that your policy changes have resulted in that data is amazing. It's still, we have those continued first violators. So that may be the area you want to focus on. Or maybe the policy's working and maybe you don't want to touch it. I think we wanted to give you that as an option because you guys brought it up at the last time we discussed this. And you give us some direction, we can bring it back as a formal ordinance.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for explaining that, Mr. Mitchell. It's not difficult. I mean, to card somebody. If people are following the rules and carding people, those people, if people are not following the rules and they're not carding people, then they should feel the impacts of that. When everybody else is following the rules and these people aren't, those people that aren't following the rules should feel the impact. And I'm of the mindset is you can't sell to minors at all. We need to be, I'd like to see it at zero. I mean, I don't know if that's realistic, but we should be striving to that. And in lieu of a fine, I think extending the suspension time, as staff is recommending, is good, since we don't have the ability to change our charter at this point. And let people be free to sell what they want to consenting adults. But when you're dealing with minors, I kind of am zero tolerance with that. So.
Steve?
I'll save my discussion items for after I hear from the public. These are my questions. The license that we provide, is that for a location or for a company or individual?
It is site specific.
Site specific. So no matter who owns the retailing at that location, the license is for the location.
Well, the license is site specific, but it's also tied to the operator. And so that's where the question came up, where we worked with the city attorney's office. So the one location that was revoked at Cuyamaca and Fletcher Parkway, they had an issue where they needed to make sure that the transfer of the sale was to a different party. So they can't just change ownership on paper and maintain their license. So it does belong to a specific entity.
Okay. I'll talk about slide 4 later. It was mentioned earlier that 90 out of 97, and I don't think that's true, because embedded in this, you could be a repeat offender. So those are not 90 unique violations out of 97 retailers. You could have 20 unique people doing it 4 times, for instance, to get to 80. So I want to clear that up. We do not have 90 unique violations out of 97 retailers.
So the 90 violations are specific times when a decoy went in and purchased tobacco. So those are separate, but it could be multiple violations at a single location.
I agree. I'm just saying, we know there's currently 97 licenses. We were left with the impression 90 of them have had a violation, and that's just not.
Well, that's a first-time violation, right?
68 were first-time violations.
Then what's
Sorry,
the
68
number
were
of
first-time
violations?
violations.
I
So that's
see
really
90
the
at
number.
bottom. 24, 24, 23, 14, 5.
But that includes first, second, third that year. So that was that year's total violation. So theoretically, really 68 is probably the number of violations, and some of those 19 or 20 in that first 2 years may have repeated a violation.
Oh.
Well, one of them may in 2023.
May be part of the 68.
It's probably closer to 60.
Exactly. In
So
fact,
about 60%.
well, I'm just letting you know, in my mind, I'm not saying there's 90 violators out there. And I want the public to know, I'm not saying there's 90 violators out there. Because it's a 3-year rolling period, you can only look at a 3-year group at a time. And if you look at the first 3 years, 19, 20, and 15, at best, that would be 39, 49, 54 unique people in the first 3 years. So it's half. It's not 90%.
So Noah, how often do we do the stings?
We do that annually.
Okay, so they got another 364 days that they could sell to minors, and it wouldn't show up here.
Depending on which level of violation they were at. So if they had the first violation, they would have a suspension period. So anything past the first violation, there's a suspension of their license.
Okay.
Okay, those are the questions I had. I'll save my comments after I hear from the public.
Great. And if I could clarify just one more thing, we do know that the suspension is effective because in the prior iteration of the ordinance, there was an option where they could pay the fine or have a suspension period. And never once did we have anyone decide to take the suspension period. They just all paid the fine.
Well, we're all economic creatures, right? Okay, any other questions for Noah? Okay, thank you. We have any cards on this?
Yes, sir, we do. One from Vince Catula.
Good afternoon. Could you guys pull that slide up one more time? Can I change that slide? Slide with the chart that you had up. Yeah. the slide with the chart. That one, perfect. Thank you. I just want to clarify one thing. There are 97 tobacco retailer license. Between 2020 to 2024, there were 90 violations total. So that could include first-time offenders, second, third, fourth-time offenders. The number we should be looking at is the first violation. Those were 68 first violations out of the 97 retailers. That's your true number right there, to answer the question that was previously.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I disagree. Because if I was in the group of 19 and I was clean for 3 years, I can now be one of the 5, a duplicate. I'm 19, I'm on probation for 36 months.
So that would take away the, okay. I got it. Okay.
Are you saying it's okay to have 68% of retailers sell to kids?
I'm not saying that. I'm just clarifying the number from earlier because I think there was a
How do you think we could stop that?
I have a perfect solution for you, and I'll get to it right now.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick and members of the El Cajon City Council. My name is Vince Catula, and I'm here today representing a number of tobacco retailers in the city of El Cajon.
How many?
A lot.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50?
Over 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I can appreciate the strict enforcement and penalties for tobacco sales to minors. There's no question about that. However, El Cajon is already the toughest jurisdiction on minor sales in the region.
Great, thank you.
I'm not done yet.
Okay. I'm thanking you for pointing that out.
Thank you. With that being said, I do believe that everybody deserves a second chance on correcting their business practice. Suspending a license for 30 days for a first-time offender, which most of the time is an accident or mistake, seems over the top. Aside from paying the $2,500 fine for a first-time offender, you're correct. The financial implications on a suspension for a loss of revenue, loss of customer base to a competitor is overwhelming. It'll shut a business down. I recommend leaving the penalties in their current form, except that if somebody comes out for that second violation, their TRL comes directly to you guys for review. You guys determine what the penalty could be, anywhere from 1-day suspension to 5-year suspension. Doesn't matter. Whatever the monetary penalty would be, you guys come to that decision. The issue isn't those first-time offenders, it's those second-time offenders. And I think you guys should have the ultimate decision on what happens to a tobacco retailer. I'm going to tell you a quick story on why I think that's fair. I personally know of someone who has operated a convenience store in the city of San Diego since 1983, almost 45 years. 0 violations for alcohol and tobacco. Earlier this year, they had an undercover sting from the state of California. The business owner last year had some personal issues or whatnot, and he still thinks in his head earlier this year that it's the birthday of 2024. So in order to be 21, it needs to be January 2nd, 2024, or 2023. Now it's 2024 because we're now moved on to 2025. Him having his own personal issues and whatnot, forgot that New Year's was just a few days prior. And so that's when a lot of the state sting operations come in. They take advantage of the year change. Is it fair that after 45 years of being a responsible steward of a liquor license, beer and wine license, and tobacco license, get suspended for 30 days and get your business potentially shut down? I don't think so. The state heard the guy's appeal. He provided evidence that he had a medical issue. He provided all the different documentation, and they said, yeah, you're actually on the record for successfully passing all these stings over the last several decades. Here's a $300 ticket. Don't do it again. So, with that being said, I think that, yes, you guys should be strict on the second-time offenders, and it should be done in this audience. Thank you.
So you would be okay with a 5-year suspension if we catch them the second time?
I think that you guys should make that decision, not me. Does the punishment fit the crime?
All right. Are you familiar with the state procedure when they go in to buy tobacco that the kid that's buying the tobacco can lie and say, yeah, I'm 21?
Yes.
Yeah, that's different than ours. We allow it's going to be just like in the real life where a kid that's 14 that comes in to buy tobacco, if they ask him if he's 21, he's allowed to lie, just like a regular kid probably would that's, addicted to tobacco. And then they sell it to him, and then we nail him. That's a difference between city councils and state legislatures who get a lot of money from the tobacco industry. And in fact, city council members all over the state get money from the tobacco industry, but not the hundreds of thousands that the state legislatures get, or the Congress people get. Okay, so you're familiar with that procedure?
But
okay.
If somebody were to come in and say, yes, I'm 21, without verifying via ID, that's a ticket. If
Right.
they get caught.
And aren't there devices available to put on the cash registers where they put in the driver's license and it tells them how old he is, whether he can buy tobacco or alcohol?
That's the stripe on the back of an
Right.
ID.
Why don't they use that?
I think there's a lot of opportunity for implementing technology in a variety of different
That's
industries.
existed for years.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else? I'm going to allow you extra time because, you're the one that's bringing this forth.
Right. That's my recommendation. Thank you so much for
Okay.
for hearing.
Is there anything else?
That's it for right now.
Okay. Thank you. Next person?
That was our only speaker.
That's it? Okay. Then I have a few things to say. First of all, there's no safe dose of tobacco. Every single puff hurts you. It's the Center for Disease Control, who I respect a lot. They're telling us that 50% of tobacco users will die as a direct result from smoking tobacco. They will get a tobacco-related disease. And tobacco is highly addictive. 90% of kids start smoking before the age of 18. And I believe that the absolute primary job of local government is to protect the people. And the people that need the most protection are our kids, because you can't be around them all the time. And if any of you have seen people die from a tobacco-related disease, it is awful. My sister died from lung cancer, and she sat next to somebody when watching TV all the time, and she got lung cancer. And the day that her baby was born, she went from the maternity ward to the cancer ward. They gave her 6 months to live. She managed to live 3 years. And I've seen people get emphysema. My mother-in-law got emphysema, and you don't get enough oxygen to your skin. And if she fell, they had to pick her up with a net, because if they grabbed her arm, the skin would come off in their hands. So there's no benefit to smoking tobacco. So I'll close the public. Well, we don't even have a public hearing, do we?
No, sir, but I did receive another card, with your permission.
Sure.
Truth?
Truth, come on up.
Thank you for being so kind, everybody. Hopefully that camera's not on right there, 'cause, we wouldn't want a public meeting recorded now. It sounded like Graham was discussing increased fees or taxes in the future with the change of the charter. That's interesting because, don't get me wrong, $2,500 fine isn't very much, but that would mean last year the city made $12,500. So something to consider. I could understand why you'd want more money. 97 smoke shops says a lot about the culture. Not necessarily negative, not my thing. But in 4 years, it went from 24 violations to only 5 violations. So it's actually improving. And it also means that 0.05% of the 97 retailers are innocent this year, if I'm going by the math. I think a month-long probation on a first-time violation is fair, although it could maybe depend on why they were violating. People make mistakes, that's true. I don't really have an opinion on anything longer than that for several violations, but I wouldn't mind if it was a year or more than that, because you should know better after you learn from the first one, because you shouldn't have any, would be the preference. But I am curious, why are children or teens able to buy tobacco in the first place? Where are their parents at? There has to be accountability on both sides. It can't just be the store all the time. But I have a little bit of experience on this topic because National City recently passed a tobacco retail license or updated it. They did almost no outreach to the local businesses, so I'm curious if El Cajon did any outreach to the businesses. National City was talking about probation for the violators, but then they basically want to ban all future tobacco shops within 1,000 feet of like certain sensitive areas, which is really problematic. You're just basically taking away someone's right to have their business at all and destroying their ability to sell it. So I'm glad that's not in here, and I hope it's not on the table. What was interesting is they also talked about not having money for enforcement with the decoys more than 1 or 2 times a year. So you guys are doing the same. You're doing once a year. That's probably not enough. Now, if you did have an increased fee, well, then you could cover that, and that would be probably smart. One thing that did happen there, and I'm curious if there's any influence here on that, and that's lobbying. Specifically there, they had Say San Diego, Center for Tobacco and the Environment, and Environmental Health Coalition, and great numbers. So I couldn't get the Form 700 campaign disclosures to work on my phone, but I'm a little concerned about who's gotten what campaign donations or who's running for office here in this room. I don't know. It's just somebody's got to call. So I just have to ask that because I can't confirm it or deny it. So you guys are going to give me the answer. Who would do that? That'd be very transparent. But also my other question would be, what about liquor stores? Because underage drinking is actually way more common than underage smoking. So I don't know if anyone considers that, but I do. Thank you.
Truth? Thank you for your comments. I can tell you that there are local PACs that get money from tobacco and alcohol interest, and they spread around the money.
Okay.
And you could research that and find out who's getting it.
All right.
I never take money from tobacco or alcohol industry. They wouldn't give me any anyways.
Yeah, I was referring more to the ones that are fighting it. There's two lobbying sides of every issue, actually, at least 2. But yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's give another chance. Any more public comment?
No other speakers, sir.
Okay, so now this is an official public hearing, right? Okay, so I can ask my council members to discuss this. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll go. I haven't made my thoughts yet. Do we want more money? No, we don't. They pay a $709 license fee per year, so that fee generates $65,000 to $70,000 per year, and that pays for the contractor to go out and do these enforcements. So in no way does that money go to the general fund from the fine, and the fee pays for the enforcement. Campaign donations, I have no campaign donations per state law in the previous 12 months or the next 12 months from anybody that I know of on this item. Okay, so let's get to the item. The slide, let's go back to slide 4. Might as well just leave it there. That's the one we like. The current, slide 4, the current method that we established 6 years ago seems to be working. First violations, okay. Second violations, not only are they way down from the first violation, but they're down year to year, and third and fourth have been absent for the past 2 years. I'm kind of seeing it's working as it is. The only thing I could see changing would be either the length of a measurement period or the length of suspension of sales. So I'm open for my colleagues' thoughts on that, but this seems to be working as it is.
Thanks, Steve. Let me gather my thoughts. I think that the extending the suspension time from 3 years to 5 years makes sense. I think that's practically okay. The question I wanted to have for staff was, the public offered the idea of, after the second violation, coming straight to council and us having the ability to make a judgment call and revoke their ability to sell for a 1 day or 30 days or whatever that idea was. Practically, what does that look like? Is that even possible to functionally, or does it get? I mean, if we're doing 68 first violation hearings, does that make sense? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's possible, of course, and you wouldn't be doing that many. We're getting it down, but I would highly recommend against it. There's a lot of decisions that are pushed down, so you're not having to weigh in on everything. One, just it's a matter of time commitment, but the bigger concern, frankly, is you then being accused of being biased. Why did you let this organization? Because everyone's going to be different. There will never be an apple to an apple. They will all be slightly different. Right now we have a third party, independent attorney that acts as a judge that comes in, looks at the evidence and weighs the evidence and then makes a decision, is in my mind by far the not only the fairest way to the public and to the businesses, but frankly, it protects the city council.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, I'd be of the mindset of, extending it past a 3-year rolling period. Is that how you describe it? 3-year rolling period where if you have, that's the window after your first violation that you escalate in violations. Is that right?
I would characterize it essentially as a probation period. So you get your first citation. Right now it's set at 3 years, and after 3 years it resets. So you go back to square one. So if you extend that from 3 years to 5 years, it provides a longer length of time during which they could be issued the second or third citation.
Okay.
Council, would you like to vote on each issue separately? Like, I think Phil's idea of going to the 5 years is really good.
No, I think that we need to comprehensively look at this
all
together as a holistic approach. I think individually voting on separate municipal fines within the same law, I think that muddies the water a ton. Staff,
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
can you
that
weigh
the
in? Or?
city manager made a good point, because one of my concerns is tobacco money that goes into local PACs, kind of hiding where it's coming from, and then going to local elected officials. And that's something I think that the newspapers and the public needs to research. See, like, where are these people getting their money that are supporting tobacco? Are they getting it hidden through PACs that the tobacco people give money to? The other thing is, I think that tobacco is just so dangerous. If it was any other product that killed half the users, it'd be taken off the market. But again, too much money comes from the tobacco industry. I might add that San Diego actually has a policy with alcohol where they call the head of a certain market organization, and they have a phone tree, and they call them when there's going to be a sting. The police let them know this. And I read that in a local San Diego magazine several years ago. And so they have a phone tree where they call up all the different stores that sell tobacco and say, don't sell tobacco to kids today. And then the police chief can go over to the city council and say, whoa, no one's selling tobacco to kids. It's wonderful. But it's all bogus. And so I think we need to really take a hard look at the people that are selling poison to our kids, and we need to protect the kids. I mean, I can't think of any good reason for somebody to sell tobacco to a child. So, okay, Rochelle, looks like you want to say something. Phil?
Are you done? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Noah. Here's here's my deal. I think that increasing the suspension rate is a good idea. Increases that. We always hear, what about the children? Let's protect the kids. Well, this would definitely put a wrench in someone's operations if it's over one violation. One violation, yeah, maybe I can see that, but as I said before, it is inherent for the owner of the store to educate all of his employees as to whether they should sell to kids or not, or to, impress upon them that they cannot sell to kids, period, because it's going to cost them probably a lot of revenue and might cause them to lose their store. So I'm in agreement with you on that. Let's increase it. I do not want it to come to council. That's my opinion. I think that just make the standard, boom, follow it. No more of this being able to come in and be influenced by anyone. I don't care what your situation is. You did it. That's the way it should be. And people get speeding tickets. They don't come to council and say, well, I was this or I was that. We just need to keep it. This is the law. Follow it. Be done with it. That's my 2 cents.
I have a quick question for staff. Where did the 30-day number for the first suspension come from? Was that just...
It's arbitrary. It
Okay.
could be 5 days, 10 days.
So I'm gonna go on a limb because it sounds like, we might be arriving at some conclusion. So I would say the first time violations, instead of it being 30, let's bring it down to a 10-day violation, a 10-day suspension. We heard
Deputy Mayor, if I may interject, so sorry.
Please.
So as of right now, with the first violation, there's no suspension.
Right, and so the alternatives that you're suggesting is for the first time violation to do a 30-day.
Correct.
So what I'm saying is maybe modify that to a 10-day suspension.
Understood. Thank you.
For first time violators. Sure, there may be mistakes, and there's technology to mitigate those mistakes, but it still stands that, like I said, $2,500 is not hitting these violators the way I believe it should. And the only way to do that is through suspension, since we can't amend the charter. We don't care about the money. We care about as Mr. Goebel said, we care about the actions. So my idea would be to implement a 10-day suspension for first-time violators along with the fine, like staff recommends. And then the second-time violators, we can increase as well from a 60-day to 90-day, and then the 120-day suspension to 150 days. These are, people that are repeatedly breaking the law and selling to minors, and then increasing the violation period from 36 months as well.
The period from 36 months to what?
What did staff recommend? I'm sorry, I don't.
To
40 years?
48 or 60 months. I'd like 60 months.
Sure. I think if we're going to, I'm of the mindset that people should be able to sell these products. And I know you may disagree, Mr. Kendrick, but I'm of the mindset to consenting adults, I believe people should have the freedom to sell it to people. But with that freedom comes responsibility. And we can't assume that this is the only time that products are being sold to minors when there's a sting.
Yeah, because we only check them one day out of the year. What are they doing the other 364 days? Probably selling to minors.
Yeah, we have to operate under the assumption that it's happening continually. So we want to make sure that our operators are operating responsibly. So that's, if anybody else has any ideas,
Okay,
please.
why don't you go?
I'm not prepared to make a motion. I'd like to hear from my colleagues.
I'm saying why don't you go through each one again so I can make sure I know what
Sure,
you're
sure.
asking for.
So 10-day suspension for first-time violators. I know that's going to hit them where it hurts, but it probably won't sink their business.
Right.
And then the staff recommendations for the second, third violations increase based off of the agenda. And then the 36-month violation period, an extension to that.
Okay, and just, I like all those things. And at what point do we revoke their license? Is there, Noah, is there a point now where you finally say, hey, you guys aren't learning. You got to stop this because you're killing too many kids in the future?
Right now, revocation occurs at the fourth violation.
Okay. Have we ever had a revocation?
Just one.
Okay. Steve, did you have a comment?
Yeah. As a business owner before, I want to be careful we don't villainize business owners. They do add value to our community. They do help pay sales taxes that we need in our country. And so I'm trying to balance doing business the right way versus not destroying somebody's investment and their life savings and their retirement because they're a small business owner. So there's a balance there. My question for the city manager is, even on a 10-day suspension, how do you administer and enforce that?
So on those days, all the products have to be removed from the shelves and no sales happen, and we do a follow-up with code enforcement and our other staff to ensure that that's occurring. But we don't have someone there 24/7 watching the counter. So there could be selling under the table, but we do additional enforcement during that period of time.
If there's a 10-day enforcement, are you going to go out every third day, every second day?
Operationally, I don't know.
I'm trying to get a sense of what the burden of enforcing a 10-day suspension.
It would probably be similar to that of a 30-day. It probably would be similar.
Okay. I think the current system's working. We can't change the amount of the fine. I think all that we can do is extend it. I believe it's a rolling 3 years, not 3 years and it's gone. Because if I had a violation in 2021 and a violation in 2023, so now I've got two, when 2024 rolls around, those both don't get wiped out. Because I still had one in 2023. It resets the clock to
Correct.
now one.
So you would have to have 36 consecutive months with no violations in order to reset the clock. So, but that would change potentially to 60 months. So if you had a violation and then, let's say 2 years later, you had your second violation, then you get hit with the suspension, and then you would still have that time period when you're on essentially probation.
So if I had a violation in 2021 and I had a violation in 2023, I have two violations. Mm-hmm. Are you saying at the end of the current law, 36 months, they're wiped out?
From the date of the second violation.
The date of the second violation.
So you essentially have a 36-month probation period. Under which?
It's rolling.
So yes, it's rolling.
It's rolling. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I will go with my colleagues. I think the current system's working. I don't want to be too punitive to somebody who is a business owner who this is their livelihood. I think we have to balance protecting the community with people's investment. People's businesses got destroyed during COVID because of government regulations. I'm trying to avoid that here.
Well, the tobacco is generally a small part of what, let's say, a 7-Eleven or a Walmart, who got busted for sale. They had to actually put up a sign when they walked into Walmart that said, we can't sell tobacco because we sold tobacco to children. I mean, that was the sign that goes up. And I was like, wow, Walmart.
I'd love to hear a motion from my colleagues.
If I may, just one more item. It's that this is an administrative report, so we're just getting direction from the council today.
Oh, okay.
And so what we would be doing is we would be doing, based on this direction, if the direction is to amend the code, we would then do outreach to all 97 tobacco retailers, make them aware of the changes to the code, and have a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll say this time we really mean it.
Okay, my feedback, which is what it sounds like you're asking for in this administrative report, my feedback is the current system seems to be working. The statistics, the data seems to show no violations last year. We're almost done with 2025. No third or fourth violations in the past 2 years. So just based on the data, I got to say, my feedback is the current system's
Well, that means it won't have much impact on them if they're not selling.
Well,
We just get the villains.
I want to be careful we don't villainize business owners.
Well, if they sell tobacco to kids, they are villains. And this is only affecting people that sell tobacco to children.
I understand. I think the current system of selling to a minor is producing the results we intended in 2019. That's my feedback.
Okay, are we ready for a motion? Michelle or Phil?
We don't need a
Point of order. I think we're just providing
that's right.
feedback
You
to
just-
staff.
We do, however,
Yeah.
we can't take feedback
Halvesies.
from all four of you. That's different. There needs to be some form of consensus of what you want us to bring back. And if the consensus is very different, then you might need a motion to give us some direction on that.
I guess my focus would be on second-time violators. I want to give some room, as the public stated and as Steve's describing, that there are mistakes being made. And to Steve's point, yeah, the data does show second violators, are going down, but that doesn't mean that they're going to stay down forever. And the $2,500 fine is not hitting them the way they would like. And so I'm welcome to other ideas if someone wants to present them, but I think my proposal really focused on the second-time violators and softening those first-time violators to some degree.
What do you mean softening?
Well, the initial proposal was to add a 30-day suspension after the first-time violation,
Right.
and the public is saying, that's gonna put people out of business to
So
some degree.
the tobacco retailers and those that represent tobacco retailers are saying that.
Right, and I'm of the mindset that 30 days is going to put someone out of business, and I mistakes happen, and so in order to soften that a little bit, instead of a 30-day, it's 10-day, and my focus would be on the second-time violators.
So you only want to do the second-time violators with a 60-day suspension, what the staff is recommending, and 60 months before it resets.
We were, by the way, these aren't recommendations, these are
Ideas.
concepts.
Yeah.
One concept you can consider for second violations is increasing it from 60, which it currently is today, to 90 days. That would be, if we were to make a recommendation, that would be our recommendation, because that's what we suggested.
I like that.
I'll throw out a compromise.
Let's hear a
Okay,
compromise.
I'll compromise.
This is democracy in action.
No suspension for the first violation. I think the administrative burden of 10 days and 30 days is just not worth it. Increase the 60 days to 90 days for a second violation. 120 days to 150 days for the third violation, and change the 36-month period to 48-month period. But leave the no penalty for the first, other than the fine for the first.
How about this? And I'll be on board. Let's do a 5-day suspension the first time around. We've got to have some teeth in this thing. I mean, we're talking about a really dangerous product that's they kill half the people they sell it to. And there are a lot of single moms in this city that can't be watching their kids all the time. And they'll addict their kid forever.
On the enforcement side, Mr. City Manager or Noah, the likelihood of us going out multiple times during a 30-day suspension, is that high or low, or is it maybe once that we're going to check?
I'll let Mr.
I
Alvey
mean,
explain
practically,
that.
what does that look like?
I would say multiple times is
Multiple
an
times
option.
is an
You know,
option.
typically we would go out, gauge the cooperation with the store. They would be putting up signage or covering the tobacco products, and we would probably talk to them about that. Then we would go back and do a subsequent inspection, and then probably do at least one follow-up to make sure that everything is the status quo.
Plus the fine will cover that, you know, so we don't have to take it out of general fund.
I'd be okay with a 5-day suspension. Our code enforcement will follow up maybe once after that, and we'll really crack down on the second-day violators. I guess I'd be okay with the 5-day, and then go to 90, 150, and 48. Steve, what are your thoughts? Good.
Okay, I'm good with that.
All right. Michelle?
My first inclination is to go along with the recommendation from staff. They've put the time and the energy to do the research and do that. But if staff is okay with the alternative that Mr. Goebel has come up with, and you guys are amenable to that, I don't have to be hard-nosed about it. But, you know, I trust staff. They're the ones that have done the research and the work. And, you know, that's my first choice, is to do their recommendations. But if you guys want to follow Steve's modification, then that's fine.
So, Deputy Mayor, I just would clarify that the options that were presented by staff were merely just options that were based on the direction from council, so I wouldn't characterize them as recommendations. And so the
Right.
purpose of this was really just to get feedback. So whatever feedback the council wishes to
That's
provide
fine.
is sufficient.
To me, it's somewhat moot. I mean, whether we make it 60 days, 90 days, because the data shows very few second violators.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I could vote for it, but I think what we're having is working. So I guess if you need a motion to get a consensus, how about we try that?
It sounds like, I think I hear consensus now.
Okay.
Right? I think we have enough that we'll bring this forward. As Mr. Alves indicated, because this will be a public hearing, we'll reach out to the affected businesses. So we'll do a campaign about that, letting them know what's happening. And then we'll bring forward a formal recommendation to the City Council based on your discussion today.
Great, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, we did receive another speaker card. Would you like to consider it?
Yes, I think it's important that the public is heard.
It's from Tom Galloway.
I want to get a little worked up. And last time I was here, one of the people who sold cigarettes in their place of business was so upset that I was upset that he came up and hugged me. And I do want to apologize ahead of time to any of the people here who do sell tobacco, which has taken 4 of my family members to the grave. And it completely ruined my grandfather's later years. He was a teamster. He was active in horses and everything like that. He couldn't walk to the porch without losing his breath. And the members of my family have gone from this scourge, and it was because they started early. And I cannot begin to tell you in this polite forum what I would say if I could. I just remember that, you know, there are things that are close to your heart. Well, I'm talking about this heart here, not this. And when I heard
testimony before the tobacco industry, before the Congress of the United States. They went down the line and they said, "Oh, tobacco is so good. Oh, it's all right. It's all right." Everybody's right. Well, they were thinking with this heart. And I wanted, at the time, to jump through the screen and strangle them. Of course, thank goodness it wasn't physically possible. But this is a matter of life and death. If the businesses go out of business selling this kind of thing to kids, let it be. Let them lose everything.
Okay. Yeah, Steve?
I appreciate the speaker's comments. I'm going to keep those in mind for the next item, which is really about the debate of cigarettes and tobacco. This particular item was the penalty for sales to minors. I'm sorry. No, that's okay. I'm just saying I have filed your comments for the next agenda item because I was just looking for penalties related to selling to minors on this item. But your comments are well taken. Thank you.
Okay, Graham, do you have enough information?
Yes, thank you, Council.
Okay, now the next item, Graham?
This would be
Noah.
agenda item number 6.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor, thank you so much again. Noah Alvey with the Community Development Department. This is really part 2 of our discussion on tobacco. So this is related to tobacco display as well as smoke shop relocation. So again, this was directed by Council on July 22nd, and that was to look at regulations specific to permissible tobacco display areas and to come back with some options for the Council to consider about potentially increasing tobacco display. So for definitions, tobacco retailers are defined as anyone that has up to 16 cubic feet of display area. So 16 cubic feet could be measured in different spaces. It could be 4 by 4 by 1. It could be 4 by 8 by 6 inches. So any combination of that could be approved. Anything over that 16 cubic feet dimension is considered a smoke shop. And so according to the ordinance that was approved by the City Council in 2006, smoke shops have to meet certain spatial standards. So they have to be a certain distance away from residential uses, as well as other sensitive uses like daycare and churches, et cetera. They also have to be separated by 1,000 feet from another smoke shop. So when that ordinance was approved in 2006, existing smoke shops all became legal non-conforming, meaning that they didn't meet those regulations, but they were allowed to continue as long as they came in and got a conditional use permit. So of total, right now we have 97 tobacco retailers. Of those 97, 8 of those are licensed smoke shops that have a conditional use permit. So this map of the city shows the existing 97 tobacco retailers. We went out and surveyed all 97 of the tobacco retailers just to determine how many were displaying hookah. So you can see in orange, 73 of those were not displaying hookah, and 24 of those were displaying hookah devices. So this image is just a generic 7-Eleven image that was taken from the internet. It's not taken from anywhere inside the city. And what we're trying to do with this image is to kind of properly graphically illustrate the 3 options that were considered by the Planning Commission. So in the yellow box there, you have what essentially would equate to a 16 cubic foot display area. So that one's probably closer to 8 by 4 by 6 inches, but that would generally equate to a 16 cubic foot area. The second option that the Planning Commission considered was whether or not to essentially double that 16 cubic feet to 32 cubic feet. And so that would be the pink box that's the larger outline. The third option that was considered by the Planning Commission was whether or not to implement a percentage cap on the total retail floor area of the business. And so that percentage cap was considered was at 3%. But then they also considered a maximum cap of up to 150 square feet. So the blue box is intended to describe what a 3% cap would look like for a typical convenience market. So your standard 7-Eleven is probably about 2,000 square feet. So looking at a 3% cap, you'd be looking at 60 square feet. So if you have about 15 linear feet across the frontage there, and then it could go all the way up. So those are the three graphic representations of the options that were considered by the Planning Commission. So again, the alternatives are stated here. The Planning Commission did consider kind of the pros and cons of each, and one of the cons that they considered was that by increasing to 3% of retail floor area, it would kind of create an uneven playing field for the different businesses. So, the larger the retail floor area was, the more display area you could have. So we'd have a situation where maybe the smaller stores are like, hey, it's not fair. This other store has a larger display area than I do. And so one of the things that they considered was that, and they ultimately decided that the increase in the display area from 16 cubic feet to 32 cubic feet would be really just create a level playing field across all the tobacco retailers. As part of that discussion, the Planning Commission decision was not unanimous. It was 3-1 with Commissioner Sotile voting no, and Commissioner Moroz was absent. So the second part of the discussion was related to smoke shop relocation. So going back to the 2006 ordinance, we have the existing smoke shops. They don't meet spatial standards, and so there's not really an opportunity for them to relocate within an existing neighborhood. So recently we've had some issues where an existing smoke shop may be interested in moving, but they're not able to accomplish that nearby their location. I'd really equate it to like an economic development opportunity. So if you look at like the corner of 2nd Street and Broadway, there's the former Conroy's that's located there. That entire shopping center as of right now is vacant, but there's the one smoke shop that's there. So that smoke shop doesn't, as of current regulations, have the ability to kind of relocate somewhere else in that neighborhood because of those separation standards. So the idea is if that smoke shop was able to relocate, maybe that property owner would consider demolishing the shopping center and coming in with a new development. So maybe it's that one business that's just holding that shopping center on. So the concept was to allow that smoke shop to allow any smoke shop that doesn't meet the standards to relocate. They would still need to get a conditional use permit. They would need to increase their separation from sensitive uses, and then therefore they'd be moving towards compliance and really just kind of create more opportunities. So that was part of the Planning Commission's recommendation as well, also with the 3-1 vote. So the recommendation from staff is if you are interested in increasing tobacco display areas to increase from 16 to 32 cubic feet as recommended by the Planning Commission, and staff would further recommend providing that relocation opportunity for smoke shops. So that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Council members, you have any questions of the speaker? Go ahead.
What prompted the interest to increase the size?
Increase the size of the...
How did this agenda item...
This was a direction from City Council.
To increase the...
To analyze the opportunities. So the mayor and Mr. Ortiz brought forward this item several months ago to explore this.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Am I right, Mr. Ortiz?
Ortiz and Mitchell.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Yes. Yes.
Okay, let's see, we have to have any other questions of the staff? Okay, opening the public hearing.
We have 18 speakers. The first one is from Rebecca Brandstetter.
Rebecca, since you represent an organization, you're well-schooled in this, I'm going to allow you 10 minutes, just like I'm going to allow Mr. Catula 10 minutes. Okay, that's good. Take 10 if you want. You can do a tap dance for us. Okay. You're on.
Thank you, Mr. Kendrick. My name is Rebecca Brandstetter. I am a public health advocate with Community Action Service and Advocacy, and I'm a resident of El Cajon. We appreciate the work of the staff in presenting this recommendation, and especially the Planning Committee. They did the work, researched the issue, formulated their findings. You all balance lots of interests and viewpoints every day. And so I'd like to address, in that spirit, I'd like to address 3 points of the proposed ordinance that's before you today. First, the change in the code regarding grandfathered smoke shops being allowed to relocate based on a greater separation than their existing location. There are things about that part of this ordinance that we appreciate. The CUP is required, still have to go through that. And the method for measuring the distance, we appreciate that as well. And this recommendation is certainly an improvement because it seems that most of the current sites are way too close to residential uses under the current code. But the minimum distances specified in the code, just for the record, are solid and overall better for the public health and exposure to children and youth. With only one exception, 1 in 3 residents living around those existing sites are under 21. And this is from U.S. Census data, and that's in that package we just gave you. This is an overlay of tobacco locations with schools, and the dark gray is areas of the city of El Cajon that have residents under the age of 21 comprising more than 33% of the population. So I just wanted to point that out to you. So again, greater separation from residential uses is an improvement, but in an ideal world, we definitely serve the city best if they would meet the distance requirements of the ordinance. The second point I wanted to make with you is a technical issue, and it is in Section E of the proposed ordinance. I would request a change in that language, the signage and the sales language, to make it match what's in Section 8.32 and 8.33 of the Health and Safety Code. And that language is much stronger in protecting children. That language for the sign would read, "Selling tobacco products to persons younger than 21 years of age is illegal. Photo ID is required to purchase any tobacco product." Period. End of statement. There is no leeway for apparent age. And like you point out, it's very easy to know if somebody's under 21 or over 21 by the orientation of their official California ID. The other part in section, that's in 832.30 in the prohibitions. In 833.50, other requirements and prohibitions, the positive identification is required. No person shall engage in tobacco retailing without first examining the identification of each purchaser and confirming that the proposed sale is a purchaser who's at least minimum age. We just like the language in the zoning code to match the language in the health and safety code. We would recommend that. And then the third issue that I'd like to bring to your attention, and my colleagues have more specific information for you, has to do with the space increase, the display space increase. El Cajon set the gold standard for tobacco retailer licenses when it was first initiated, and it is still having a positive effect, and we appreciate that. So the issue before you regarding that is whether to expand it and how to measure it. In their report, staff mentions the confusion that can come with measuring it by cubic feet. And as a visual learner, I was thinking, how do I see that? What does that mean? So I wanted to figure it out, and with your consent, I will show you what I came up with and how it could have an effect. These are 3 of the most common products that are sold. There's a Zen package, there's a vape, and there's a package of cigarettes. And when you're looking at cubic feet, the thing to know is that cigarettes are about 4 inches tall. You can stack them up that way. Zen containers are about 3 inches, so you can get 4 in a cubic foot, and the vape pens are about an inch deep. So this is what a square foot of display space of cigarettes looks like. In cubic feet, this is how much that space would take up. You could not violate the cubic foot requirements and still get this much display space times 16 or 32. With Zens, this cubic foot would be, oops, thank you, sorry about that, would be this much square footage of display space. I played with paper dolls when I was little. And with vape pens, this is what it would look like. That's how much display space we're talking. I'll clean this up in a minute. So I know that there are very few retailers who would devote that much space that can't be accessed by customers to that display. But what I wanted us all to keep in mind is that by changing the zoning code and measuring by cubic feet, the legal sweep of the ordinance would allow it. And one of the things that I really appreciated about the staff's recommendation when they presented it was they were trying to avoid the idea of a junior smoke shop. I think that this ordinance, with this change in display, could do that. And so I ask you to consider that and think about not expanding the display. Thank you. And I yield the rest of my time.
We have any question for the speaker? Right. Thanks for coming. Okay, Angela.
Next speaker is Tammy Tran.
Oh, if you don't mind, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Okay, so back in 5 minutes.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, City Council members and staff. My name is Tammy Tran. I'm a public health advocate with Community Action Service and Advocacy, and I'm also a student at UC San Diego. I'm going to read a statement from Wael Al-Dalami, MD, PhD, a UCSD professor in the Division of Global Health in the Department of Family Medicine and Public Health. Dr. Al-Dalami is a multidisciplinary epidemiologist with a medical background in the epidemiology of chronic diseases, tobacco, and diet. He practiced medicine in his native Iraq and then Jordan. Dr. Al-Dalami states as follows. Counter to perceptions propagated by hookah tobacco retailers, burning of hookah, which also has molasses for flavoring, is as harmful or maybe even more harmful than cigarettes. While a cigarette can take a few minutes to smoke, a typical hookah session is 1 hour long or more. This translates into much higher nicotine in smoke, and regular hookah use is extremely addictive. Hookah use also causes exposure of smoke to bystanders, workers, and other non-smokers that are put at risk from being exposed to the harmful toxic chemicals in hookah smoke. The hookah apparatus was developed in India, and when tobacco was introduced from the Americas to Europe and then to India, the users of hookah began to use the hookah apparatus for tobacco instead of cannabis. I was born and raised in the Middle East, and there is no such thing as hookah use as part of the culture or religion. For something to be part of a culture, it should be widespread and positively accepted, which the hookah is not. The creation of new flavors that appeal to the younger generation. Those who claim it is part of the culture speak only of their addiction to this product or have interest in selling these products. It is shameful that they use culture to propagate their self-interests at the expense of public health of the rest of the population. Thank you for your time.
Michelle Tam.
I'm a little bit short. Hello, El Cajon City Council. My name is Michelle Tan. I'm with CASA, Community Action Service and Advocacy, and I'm a lifelong El Cajon resident. I'd like to speak on the proposal to expand tobacco product displays. Increasing display space is not only unnecessary, it also undermines the progress we've made in El Cajon. Larger displays can create the appearance of the greater product variety and normalize tobacco use, particularly among young people. As a recent marketing graduate, I can tell you that retail visibility and marketing directly influence experimentation and addiction, especially for youth and other vulnerable populations. Take these products as example. This first one here is Sunlight Hookah's Bubblegum Pink Light Up portable hookah, which is advertised to be perfect for cars, houses, and parties. One reviewer found it easy to assemble, though cheaply made plastic, like a kid's play hookah. Another reviewer said it feels like a child's toy. These simple reviews highlight the targeted and strategic market appeal to youth. Common sense would tell us that this is a yummy lollipop with a glow-in-the-dark base, but it's actually a flavored hookah mouth tip. Along with this candy is another box of candy. Gumballs. I really loved them as a kid. But it's not candy. It's a bubblegum flavored shisha to enjoy with your bubblegum lollipop. And if you thought for a second that these products were just candy, what would our kids think? What would your grandkids think? These marketing tactics, layered products, flavors, and packaging techniques are strategically engineered for their ideal target audiences before these products even hit the shelves. It's designed in the developmental stages of a product. And I should know, I majored in marketing. By keeping the current display restrictions intact, the city will be sending a clear message that protecting our youth and community from harms from tobacco remain a priority in El Cajon. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Kate Duffy.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Kate Duffy. I'm also with Community Action Service and Advocacy, and I work with a youth group called STAND, Students Together Against Alcohol and Drugs, which serves high school youth throughout El Cajon, particularly from Valhalla High School, El Cajon Valley High School, and Granite Hills High School. My students could not be here today due to school to share their thoughts, so I thought I would start by telling you what they've told me. Many students are concerned about the long-term health effects their family members may face from using hookah products and effects their peers may face if they have access and exposure to hookah products as minors. One student, a junior at Valhalla High School, said in reference to the use of hookah products, "It isn't really a smart choice because overall, our students agreed that based on what they've witnessed among their peers, an increase in exposure to hookah products along with other tobacco products in stores frequented by families and youth may encourage more kids to start using them. Part of the reason why the current tobacco retailing restrictions exist in the first place is to protect El Cajon's children and teens from unnecessary access and exposure to these products, whether they're hookah or not hookah, by limiting the amount of smoke shops in the city, where those smoke shops can be located, and how much display can be dedicated to tobacco in stores open to children. The stores that would be affected by changes to the allowed display area are frequented by families and youth, and increased display space would directly cause undue exposure to harmful products for kids and teens. This council has established its intent to protect youth from such exposure in past decisions, such as the new ordinance to prevent the sale of disguised vaping products from earlier this year. And most current smokers as adults started as teens, as you mentioned earlier. I, along with my students, worry that loosening any tobacco restrictions could lead our city down a slippery slope of regulation changes that would reverse the progress made over the past few years, and I request that the council keeps this in mind throughout today's discussion. Thank you so much.
Donna Colbert.
Good evening, City Council members and staff. My name is Donna Colbert, and I'm the Executive Director of Community Action Service and Advocacy, better known as CASA. I want to thank you for continuing to make public health a priority in El Cajon and for your commitment to protecting young people from nicotine addiction. As Mr. Kendrick says earlier, tobacco remains the #1 cause of preventable death, killing an estimated 490,000 people in the United States every year. Nearly all adult smokers first try tobacco before the age of 18. Of those who start, only 1 in 3 will ever quit. 2 of the 3 will remain addicted for life, and half of them will die from tobacco-related illness. Back in 2006, CASA worked with the city to pass the first tobacco retail licensing ordinance in the county. Since then, we've partnered with the city to conduct annual compliance checks to make sure stores aren't selling tobacco to underage youth. Because of this ongoing effort, we've seen tremendous progress. Illegal sales to minor dropped from 40% in 2004, before the ordinance, to just 1% in 2011. Even during the height of the vaping epidemic, when national youth vaping increased by 78%, El Cajon saw declines in both vaping rates and in how easy youth thought it was to get vaping products. This is a direct result of the strong tobacco policies you put in place, and we saw those numbers with Mr. Alvey's presentation earlier. Your leadership has made a difference. You've shown that El Cajon cares about its young people and understands how exposure to tobacco marketing and displays shape behavior. Research consistently shows that when kids see more tobacco advertising, they're more likely to try it and become addicted. For these reasons, CASA respectfully asks that you vote no on any proposal to increase the display area for tobacco products, including hookah. Our community's progress didn't happen by accident. It came from years of thoughtful prevention work and collaboration. Let's continue moving forward by expanding protections for youth, not reducing them. And thank you for your time and your consideration for building a healthier El Cajon. And we have a little packet that has some more information and some comments from doctors who are Middle Eastern themselves.
Vince Catula.
Vince, you do have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Councilman Kendrick. There are 11 other speakers with me. They all yield their time to me. They don't need to speak, but they are in support of what I'm proposing today. Good afternoon, Pro Tem Kendrick and members of the El Cajon City Council. My name is Vince Catula, and I represent El Cajon Cash and Carry, located at 1198 East Main Street. The business is immediately adjacent to Harbor Freight and includes the former military surplus store for a total of 15,000 square feet. The business, which retails food, general household merchandise, and hookah products, has maintained in good standing a City of El Cajon business license and tobacco retailer license since opening in 2007. Of note, over the last 19 years in business, the owner and operator has had 0 minor tobacco sale violations. Hookah, as some of you may know, is substantially unique from other types of tobacco and does hold special cultural values throughout the Middle East and elsewhere. El Cajon Cash and Carry is known throughout the country as one of the premier distributors of rare and hard-to-find hookahs, which can only be sourced from the Middle East and found here in El Cajon. The business owner, Mr. Rami Tomika, frequently gets requests from all over the country seeking rare hookahs, with some of them valued at thousands of dollars and considered pieces of art. In many cases, hookahs serve as centerpieces in homes or decorative pieces atop a fireplace mantle. I've brought with me today a few examples of rare hookahs. Babali al-Taha from Iraq and Khalil Mamoun from Egypt. One of the very first things you notice is the distinct size of hookah as opposed to a traditional pack of cigarettes. As you can see, this hookah is almost 4 feet tall and very quickly takes up the 16 cubic feet of shelf space, while in comparison to traditional tobacco, approximately 1,500 packs of cigarettes can fit in 16 cubic feet, which is 150 different varieties. In addition to the hookah itself, there are many components that are required, such as the tobacco, the coals, the hose, and other necessary pieces, whereas traditional tobacco users may just require a 3-inch pack of cigarettes and a small lighter. Because this business was established 1 year after the deemed approved ordinance was adopted, El Cajon Cash and Carry is unable to publicly display the hundreds of hookahs it has in its inventory. Instead, customers come in and ask to see a specific brand, size, color, or model. An employee then leaves the floor, proceeds to the stockroom, picks out a few options they think best suits the customer's needs, and then the employee will often go back and forth to the stockroom several times, which, as you can imagine, is a substantial burden to both the customer and the business itself. We hope that you guys agree with us that hookah should not be held to the same display size restrictions as a 3-inch pack of cigarettes. So therefore, as an effort to help mitigate the impact to hookah as a part of the existing tobacco ordinance, we recommend option 1, a 3% floor space with a cap of 150 square feet. We've heard from the stakeholders, and we agree that the best tool to keep kids safe from tobacco are the retailers. They are the front lines. So we want to take option 1 even a few steps further. We propose the following modifications to option 1. First, the 3% rule and 150 square foot cap applies only to hookah. Traditional tobacco and really anything outside of hookah, vapes, zins, and anything else remains under the current ordinance at 16 cubic feet. Second, if a retailer seeks to expand their hookah selection, that retailer cannot have had a minor sales violation in at least 10 years and must have a minimum of 5,000 square feet of total floor space. That floor space requirement stops other types of outlets like a barber shop or a dry cleaners from selling hookah products. And then finally, we want to maintain the spirit of the 16 cubic feet rule, which is intended to substantially restrict the visual impact of tobacco products to minors. Hookah must be kept out of sight to minors, and in order to view hookah products and shop hookah products, a customer must be verified by an employee to be over 21 and accompanied by an employee in an age-restricted hookah area. Some of you may remember that other types of sensitive uses would have age-restricted areas. Blockbuster had one several decades ago. Look, we agree that kids should not have access to tobacco. We wholeheartedly agree with that. And one of the comments that the business owner brought up earlier was, look, if somebody is selling 2 or 3 times, don't leave a 5-year gap. They are a problem. Don't let it reset at any given time. And so that's a testament to say that we, the proponents of cultural tobacco products here, are just looking for equality and equity. And this product is a legal product and should be accessible for patrons that want to purchase it. What we're asking for today, again, is equity and equality for the different types of sizes of cultural tobacco products, such as hookah, which obviously requires substantially more space than a traditional pack of cigarettes, all while keeping kids safe and not exposing our youth to anything more than they're currently exposed to. Thank you for your consideration, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Vince, you have a few minutes left. Steve, did you have a question?
I do. Thank you, Vince. I need a couple clarifications.
Sure.
When we're talking about hookah, are we talking about the devices or the tobacco?
The devices, the tobacco, the hoses. Let me see a couple of the products, and I'll show you why we're talking about all of it. This is the tobacco, 1 pack of tobacco. These are the coals. These are the hoses. This is the head that sits on top that holds the tobacco. So we're talking about all hookah products that are related to hookah. Now, it might sound like there might be a lot of pieces, but it really comes down to the tobacco, the hoses, the device, and then just the accessories that go with it, like a base, maybe.
What must be kept out of reach access from minors?
All of it.
Is that a state law?
No, we are proposing that.
No, my question is, is it a state law that these things have to be out of reach of minors?
It's my understanding that pursuant to state law, there is no self-service tobacco if you're not a smoke shop, designated smoke shop, for anybody, whether you're 21 or not 21.
Okay, let me rephrase this. The devices that I'm looking at here, is it a state law, setting aside the tobacco? Are the devices required by state law to be out of, let me, turn to the city attorney. Are the devices required by state law to be out of reach access by a minor?
I'm not aware of the specific state law only related to hookahs, so I would have to do further research and follow up on that. I know that when we're looking at El Cajon Municipal Code, it is defining the areas of the amount of space that can be devoted to these types of products, and maybe...
Where I'm going with this is there's a difference between the tobacco itself and the devices. The devices aren't going to kill you. People will argue the tobacco will kill you. People will argue minors can touch those devices and not be harmed. But if the minor touches the tobacco, they will be harmed. I'm trying to separate this definition of hookah from the devices and the tobacco. What can't kids have access to?
These devices are included in what kids can't have access to, and then you can only have self-service if you're in a smoke shop.
And
so essentially everything in a convenience setting needs to be behind the counter. And if you're in a smoke shop, you can go in and walk around, and because that's 21 and up only.
And is that state law or city code?
State law.
State law, okay.
Well, Noah's up. I do have a question for him.
Okay.
Noah, it's my understanding that state law does not allow us to separate hookah from tobacco in our ordinances. Is that true?
So the way our ordinance is structured, it just has that 16 cubic foot limitation for tobacco and tobacco-related products.
Which would include hookah.
The hookah would be included in that. So would like a Sherlock Holmes style pipe. So any of those products are all inclusive in that 16 cubic foot display area. So it allows you to do any of those. So there could be someone that has a specialty of hookah. Some of you might remember the Tinderbox at Parkway
Parkway,
Plaza
yeah.
for many years. The Tinderbox would have been a smoke shop because it had more than 16 cubic feet of display area. But that's the Tinderbox, had those specialty pipes that they sold in the specialty
Right.
tobaccos. So essentially what the code does is it just treats all of these different varieties the same way. It just says you get 16 cubic feet. If you want more, you're a smoke shop, meet those separation standards.
So if we give someone permission to expand the hookah area, they could also put tobacco, cigarettes and cigars there, right?
It would depend on the changes to the code. There's the possibility of doing the carve out for just hookah products, but then there could be in the future, let's say, pipe tobacco becomes popular again, like the Tinderbox was, and there's someone that wants a special carve out only for wooden carved pipes. So that's why really the ordinance just says all of these products fall under the umbrella of tobacco related products. If you're a convenience market, you're limited to an incidental amount of 16 cubic feet. If you want to be more than that, you need to be a smoke shop and be separated from sensitive uses.
All right. Thank you, Noah.
Okay, so we're back to, you want to kind of redefine a smoke shop, 3% or 100, maximum of 150 square feet just for hookah products.
Right.
Correct? Okay. Now, currently, the code says smoke shops have to be certain places in the city, distances. If you allow any of the 97 tobacco retailers to go to this new standard, would they be violating those spatial requirements?
So if we added this, would it violate the spatial standards is the question. So, essentially the options that we structured for the Planning Commission were to go, 16 to 32 cubic feet and then or to do a percentage of the floor area. Ultimately, the smoke shop definition is up to the council to define and to determine. I think one of the things that the Planning Commission struggled with was whether or not, as part of this code, they were going to be creating almost like a second mid-tier of smoke shop. So we have the standard smoke shop requirements, or are we creating something different? I mean, the intent from council and through the code has always been just to allow that incidental retail sales of tobacco at convenience markets and other items and other tobacco-related items. So if a certain shop had certain things they wanted to sell, they could, but always within that 16 cubic feet.
Sure, I understand. And where I'm trying to go with Mr. Catula is say, what if we bust out of that thought for a second and say, let's add another option, as Mr. Catula proposes. I'm trying to hone down what's the impact on the community if 97 retailers now have a new option to go up to 150 square feet. And they're a gas station retailer or a 7-Eleven retailer, but you know what, under the new thing, 5,000 minimum square feet, okay, that might rule out many of them. I'm trying to see where he wants to go and the
other thing
pitfalls. That's what I'm trying to find.
Understood. The other thing with all that is the 97 existing retailers, not all of them would qualify because several of them, as we saw earlier, had tobacco violations, and that's one of the controls. We don't want to reward poor stewards of a tobacco retailer license. We're trying to say somebody's been tried and tested for 10 years. They hadn't had any violations. They meet these certain size requirements. Let's allow them to promote economic growth.
Okay, let's take cash and carry since you represent them. It's how many square feet total?
15,000.
15,000. But some of it is not public. Some of it is
Correct.
Warehouse or
Storage.
backstock. How much?
About 9,500, 10,000 square feet.
So the bulk of the business is
storage.
Right. Sounds good. Okay. So are you proposing then that you would put like a cage inside of there that?
A cage you can see through. So what I'm proposing is that we would have a separate room that is accessible via sealed door, and it has all the tobacco products available for viewing, but it's not viewable by somebody that's a minor. So somebody comes to the register, says, do you have hookah? Check your ID, you're over 21, sure, come on into the hookah room.
And you're proposing 150 square feet max?
Maximum, doesn't matter how big
10 by 15?
That's cubic feet. We're thinking square feet.
10 foot this way and 15 foot this way is 150 square feet.
Of shelf space. So
Shelf space.
Right.
Oh. Okay. All right. That's all my questions. Thanks.
Michelle, you have a question?
Hi.
Hi.
I want to preface what I'm going to say, as I've said before. Sometimes, once we hear more evidence, once we hear more information, because yes, I did meet with you and I met with your retailer. And since then, I've received a lot of more information. And sometimes once we receive more information, we are entitled to change our opinion about something or how we felt about certain decisions that maybe we made 6 months ago or what we were thinking 6 months ago and to where we are now. My question is, why should hookah retailers get special dispensation over other tobacco retailers?
Simply because of the size. So
But that's it.
the size, it's
Right.
also the cultural side of it. You have a lot of Middle Easterners here in El Cajon.
Right.
And a lot of them, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, prefer hookah over traditional pack of Marlboro Reds.
Okay. Having said that, though, we heard testimony from Middle Eastern doctors or professors who counter what you just said. And so I'm just wondering, why would we give special dispensation to hookah retailers when we know that tobacco, plain and simple, is tough on kids? And in a sense, you would be promoting tobacco use in homes, which if one hookah session is worth about 100 cigarettes, you're exposing those kids to that. Now, yes, that is the parents' responsibility to not have their kids in the room while they're doing it. Correct? I mean, we can agree on that. If I'm going to drink all day long, it'd probably be a good thing I didn't have kids around if I'm going to do that. Correct? We can agree? All right. So that's yes, it is upon the parents to keep that away from their kids in the home, but why should the city council or why should us have to make that decision and allow just hookah to expand simply because it's large? I mean, does that make sense? You want us to give you special dispensation because you have large products or large units, okay? If you were selling fancy vapes, would you want us to give you special dispensation for the fancy vapes because maybe they're a little bit bigger or more expensive? And you had mentioned also that having to go back and forth to the back room, because I've been in the shop, and having to go back and forth to the back room, it's kind of a hassle, correct? How is having a special room any different?
The difference is that once you verify somebody is over
Right.
21 and they're of the legal age, you can now walk them to the back, and instead of you going back and forth bringing out different
Okay.
samples and products, they can actually visualize and say, I'll take that one, and I'll take that one, and then you meet them at the register.
Okay. That's a good answer. My concern, though, is that we have banned the sale of vapes that are disguised as other items, okay? And I know that coming up is like the nitrous oxide, the poppers and the like. That's going to probably be coming up for a vote. And now you want us to give special dispensation, not just for your client or for El Cajon Cash and Carry, but anybody that wants to open up shelf space to hookahs. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. There are control measures of no violations in the last 10 years.
Right.
The minimum square footage requirements, you know, these other sorts, out of sight, out of mind. So a 7-Eleven is probably going to have a really difficult time carving out a special section
And I
for
agree.
hookah.
But how many tobacco retailers in El Cajon fit the criteria that you have presented to us, other than your client?
I would take a look back at that chart, and I think there was maybe quite a few that didn't have any violations. But if you went to, you know, grocery stores, for example, there's several. I don't think Aldi's is going to be selling hookah, but you definitely have several Middle Eastern grocery stores throughout El Cajon, and I think they would love the opportunity to be able to sell hookah products to adults.
Okay, but if they want to sell hookah products, couldn't they be doing that now?
I think several of them already do. They're just restricted to maybe a couple. I think one of the maps that Noah had pulled up showed 27 or so that currently sell hookah.
And what benefit does selling hookah or increasing the space area, what benefit does it bring to the community?
You're promoting economic growth, number one. You're providing opportunities for retailers to generate sales tax. This one's $1,000 right here. You're also providing an opportunity for your citizens to acquire the legal products they are allowed to consume.
But but that's still a small portion of 105,000 people in the city. What benefit would it bring to the entire community other than economic?
Cultural awareness.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, Vince?
Yes?
Is there anything else you want to say?
Not at the moment, thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
We only have one more speaker, and that would be Tony Sotile.
Mr. Sotile.
Hello, City Council members. How are you? I agree with Rebecca Brandstetter, what she proposed, everything that she said. You know, I know the parents are supposed to raise and discipline their children, and it's their responsibility. But as elders of the city, we are to support the parents in that responsibility, not go against their wishes or what they wish to do. So I think it is the duty of a community to protect the children. And having a display, these are beautiful hookahs, is going to incentivize the children to experiment. Oh, that looks beautiful. Adults use it. Why don't we use it? So in other words, the display is like an advertisement, like it's illegal to advertise on television cigarette smoking. Why? Because it's dangerous to children. And we don't want children to be addicted to tobacco or any other product. Therefore, my recommendation would be not to change anything other than the location of the tobacco shops. The tobacco shops can display hookahs as much as they want because they're licensed as tobacco shops. What we're proposing is to be in stores where children go to, where children would see it. Children would be incentivized to use it. So in that sense of protecting the children, because you know the scripture does say that whosoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a great millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. So we're tempting the children. So if we are tempting the children, that's what Scripture says should happen to them. So another one would be in 1 John 2:16, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is the world. So when people get addicted, they're lusting for something, and they can't get away from that lust. So that is my recommendation, that you approve the relocation of the current tobacco shops, but leave everything else the way it is for the protection of our children in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of the speaker? All right. Thank you, Mr. Sotile.
No other speakers, sir.
Okay. Move to close the public hearing.
Second. Second.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those
Okay,
present.
all discussion will now be between council members and/or staff.
Okay.
Looks like you have something to say, Steve.
I do. More questions for staff. Are there limits on the number of smoke shops in El Cajon currently?
No, there is no limit on the number of smoke shops. It's just limited to meeting those spatial standards. So the issue really is that you have to have a separation from residential of 500 feet, and you have to be separated from another smoke shop by 1,000 feet. So like the example that I gave for the Conroys at 2nd and Broadway, they're adjacent to residential, and most of the commercial properties in close proximity to them are adjacent to residential. So it makes it challenging to locate a new smoke shop. Since the adoption of the ordinance, we have had one smoke shop that was approved by a conditional use permit on North Johnson Avenue. So you're primarily looking at locations that are just surrounded by commercial or near industrial.
It's kind of like dispensaries, isn't it? The geographical spatial requirements of dispensaries de facto limit the number. Is that the same here?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a limit on the size of a smoke shop?
No, that would just be determined through the conditional use permit. So the Planning Commission, as the designated decision-making body, would make that determination.
So does the existing number of smoke shops, is that kind of the de facto max in the city?
I would say no, because we have had one that's been approved since the ordinance was adopted in 2006. There's probably opportunities along Fletcher Parkway for additional smoke shops to open.
And if somebody wanted to open up another one within 1,000 feet, within 500 feet, we don't really have to factor in competition. That's not a regulatory thing.
Well, they'd have to meet those spatial standards for any new one.
Yeah.
But it was just the relocation option was just to give an option for those that probably don't have the ability to relocate.
Okay. To the cash and carry example, which was brought up, so it's fair game to talk about. Is it within 1,000 feet of an existing licensed smoke shop?
I believe it is. There is a smoke shop that is in the next shopping center over. I didn't specifically measure that. I do know that their location is immediately adjacent across the alley to residential, so that would be the primary eliminating factor for them becoming a smoke shop.
Okay. Unless we change the rules.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have for now. Thanks.
Council members, any other questions of staff? Okay, thank you. Well, time for us to make our decision.
Well, I'll kick it off. So I was a peer health educator in college. I don't know if Cajon knew that. I was in a different discipline, but I was a peer health educator as well. But I'll start off by saying that I'm in support of increasing the area for hookah devices. Now, I don't think that there should be an increase of space for the actual tobacco products, but the devices itself, they're legal in the state of California. There is a burden on selling these because of the size, and I think we can be sharp enough to make that distinction. I think El Cajon's proven that we are one of the toughest cities in the state of California for protecting children. It seems like that's the majority of the concern that I'm hearing from the public, is we need to protect children. And I think through our last discussion and our last agenda item, I think we've proven that in our numbers, and I think the consensus is that we're looking to tighten it as well. I think that these hookah devices, with their sheer size, are probably the last devices that children would be able to get their hands on. I think it's not even a question whether that should happen. And ultimately, these transactions are happening between two consenting adults, and I don't believe that it's the government's role to get into a a economic transaction between two consenting adults. I think if they want to sell things, they can, and the size requirements that we place on retailers make it an extra burden as opposed to small cigarettes. I think the path forward, if there is a compromise, and it sounds like I'm in the minority, is making a distinction between these extraordinarily ornate, glass, very fragile devices, and the actual tobacco products, vapes, Zins, these other more concealable, one-time use, very quick, as opposed to this cultural, communal tradition that's been happening for hundreds of years. I don't personally want to get in the way of that. And so I would say if there is any middle ground, to make a distinction between the actual devices and the actual physical tobacco products, I think hopefully my colleagues would consider that.
Can staff weigh in on that just a little bit, just for some clarification? I think our concern is that when we differentiate hookah in that level of specificity, it will become very difficult for interpretation. I clearly recognize that is a hookah. But what if it's plastic? What if it is more of a bong? Could that also be a hookah? I mean, you can see where we will struggle to understand why hookah, why not, as Mr. Albee mentioned, a Sherlock Holmes style pipe that may be historical and culturally significant to other people. We get into this dilemma of staff and eventually the city council will have to interpret, no, that's a device that we intended, that's not a device we intended. So that becomes a challenge.
Well, I understand that's point taken. Pipes are inherently smaller than hookahs. I mean, a pipe is handheld. A hookah is a larger device. So, but I'd be curious to hear what my colleagues have to say.
I tend to agree with you. I'm okay with I'll define it as non-consumables. Things that you cannot ingest, smoke, breathe, taste. All these devices, which are things that you don't consume, I'm fine with. I don't see how the state seems to include those in things that minors cannot touch, to be very specific. Am I correct in that thinking? So I would like to allow them to have a store full of devices and have the tobacco in the back room, but the state doesn't allow us to do that. So then I'm left with, if we increase it from 16 to 32, I do feel we're creating a new tier of a mini smoke shop, and I have a concern about that. I think there is not a moratorium on smoke shops in El Cajon, so there is room, limited as it is, for a smoke shop in a different location. So we're not saying no to smoke shops. There doesn't appear to be a limit on the size of a smoke shop. A smoke shop is just defined as where these devices and products can be available to minors, and so minors can't go into these things. I tend to agree with Mr. Sotile to say, leave the 16 feet. I don't want to have a larger display, but I do agree with Mr. Sotile also. Let's let these folks relocate if they can find a new location that still is protected by a CUP process on the spaces and things. So I don't think we should change the 16 feet. I think we should allow them to relocate as long as they maintain the rules.
Okay, Michelle.
I just want to remind my colleagues that Katie or Tammy, I think, brought up the plastic hookah designed for kids. I mean, you know, it's got to be geared for kids. The flashing lights and the color and everything else. So are we going to allow the more expensive and ornate hookahs and not allow those type of hookahs? Or are we going to allow hookah period, whether it's the more ornate and expensive and the plastic ones?
Yeah, you can't differentiate, unfortunately.
Exactly.
You can't say, well, this kind of device is okay, but this kind of device is not.
But my point is that, you know, I hear what everyone is saying, but they're saying, well, these things they're tall and they're beautiful and they're fragile. Well, yeah, those are, but the example that we were shown is not. And yet we can't differentiate. So I just want you guys to, I encourage my colleagues to keep that in mind when you're making your decision. As far as hookahs go, they're not all beautiful, ornate glass and metal units.
That's a fair point. In my mind, we've already addressed children consumption. Right. When people, you know, not only with our policies in enforcement and in consequences, but also in the hidden, disguised devices that we also took a stand on earlier this year. And so when the public tells me we got to protect children, in my head, I'm thinking we've already done that. Okay. We've gone above and beyond. We've been called the gold standard from the public here in protecting children. And so then if we are protecting children, check in the box. Now, why are we limiting consenting adults from partaking in a tradition that's happened for hundreds and hundreds of years, that is legal in California, and limiting that economic activity between two consenting adults? I don't see a substantial reason to do that. So.
And let me ask you this: are you in favor of completing through the parameters that Mr. Catula brought up? Are you agreeing with those, or do you want to just keep it to what we have?
I think the crux of all of this is the size. And we're trying to, whether it's planning commission's idea of approval to increase to accommodate the size of them, or Mr. Catula, the issue is the size of the product. And I'm attempting to get down to the root of it. And so whatever form that takes to address the size, I'm open for discussion. The inherent issue that I think the council has is, well, we don't want to blanket increase the size of all types of tobacco, because then we have many smoke shops, or, you know, there's just an incentive for children to XYZ. And so my thought is that when we carve out the idea of non-consumable products being displayed or exempt from it, I think that solves the problem, and I think that's where we have to focus if there is any path forward to alleviate this grievance for a product that is legal.
But state law prevents us from displaying those products to somebody under 21.
It does? Does state law prevent us from displaying tobacco products from people who are under 21?
In a public access.
Well, what about cigarettes?
The cigarettes behind the clerk are okay, but hookah devices in front of the clerk, our state law does not allow.
Right. No, and I don't have any problem having these devices still behind a counter in any degree. Yeah, no. So.
But we already have that business existing today. It's called a smoke shop.
Right.
They can display as many hookah devices and as many varieties of tobacco, and they can do little kid things with flashy lights because it's a smoke shop, because kids aren't allowed.
Yeah, I think Councilmember Goebel makes a good point in that. Shops are so much more secure because a minor can't even walk in there.
So, okay, if we already have smoke shops, then the issue is, do you increase the floor space for those who are not smoke shops? Because smoke shops, there's no limit on how many hookah devices you can display and how many tobacco varieties you can display. That's because you're only allowing 21. So the issue is, what about places that are not smoke shops? How much shelf space should you give them? That's the debate.
Right. Mr. Mitchell, do we have to make a decision? Do we have to vote on this, or is this just a recommendation?
This is staff returning to the city council per the council's direction.
Okay.
But you can make no decision, and that's a decision, right? So you can make a decision not to make a decision. I'm looking to the attorney. That's correct. Or you just
Right,
you just
or
vote
if
no.
if they're right, if the council does not approve the ordinance, then the ordinance that's been submitted will not move forward. However, if a majority of the council says you want revisions to the ordinance for some of the ideas that are mentioned, those would then be revised. They would go back to Planning Commission if they were required to go back there, and then we would be back to council. The hard part is trying to revise language in the ordinance at the council meeting. I don't recommend that because it becomes the law. So we want to make sure that all these things, like the state laws you asked me about, all those things are double checked to make sure that the ideas the council wants to put forward are legally allowable.
Well, my position is we allow smoke shops. They can display as much product as they want within the space they have available. They can be located anywhere in the city subject to the limitations. So now if we're talking about the non-smoke shops, which are potentially up to 97 other tobacco retailers, I don't like increasing 16 feet to 32 because I feel that creates a de facto mini smoke shop. So I would say keep the 16, but I do like the idea of letting a smoke shop relocate to solve a problem.
Steve, I agree with you.
Because of the limit, I can't display just the devices.
Okay, well, do you want to make that a motion? Or
We have a member of the audience who wishes to address.
Oh, okay. Move to reopen public hearing. Come on up.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
I'll make this really quick. The issue with smoke shops is that the customers that patron El Cajon Cash and Carry, 70% of them are women that consume hookah. There is a very strong negative connotation with walking into a smoke shop, seeing men, cartons of cigarettes, seeing the bongs, the pipes, all the drug paraphernalia that most hookah customers don't want to be seen walking into.
But what if El Cajon Cash and Carry is within 1,000 feet or 500 feet of residential that hasn't been explained to us and would not qualify?
So you cannot be a smoke shop. What we're saying is that allow us to expand on the hookah, but nothing else. And we're okay with the devices only.
So you want us to create a new class, any retailer, including a grocery store, who has at least 5,000 square feet, would get 150 cubic feet of shelf space. Square feet. Well, we're talking cubic feet when we talk shelf space because it's 12 inches deep or 6 inches deep or something.
The reason I don't say cubic feet for hookahs is because you see one and it needs the space between them, and how tall it goes, it would be very complicated on figuring.
I agree. So you want a new class of business that is at least 5,000 square feet. Could be anybody who has a tobacco retailer license, which is required.
without violations.
Without violations. Could be a grocery store. So we could see this expanded into grocery stores.
Right now, if you go to some of the Middle Eastern grocery stores, you will see that behind the counter they have at least 2 or 3 hookahs.
Agreed, but it should be 16 cubic feet should be the limitation in its current
Under
form.
the current form.
Yes. Okay, you're asking us to create a new class of business.
A new class of product within the tobacco ordinance.
You're asking us, any business that has a tobacco retailer license who's 5,000 square feet should get this much square feet of hookah product?
Yes.
You're asking us to
Yes.
create a new class
Yes.
of, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Let's close the public hearing.
Okay, move to close the public hearing.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
I hear you. I think that opens up a Pandora's box. I don't think it's good for the city to allow a grocery store to have that amount. A grocery store should, it opens up a Pandora's box beyond I think what I think is good for the city. So I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion that we keep we're going to ask the council to return the next meeting with the revised ordinance that would keep the current 16 cubic feet and would accept the staff recommendation to provide a relocation opportunity for existing conditionally approved smoke shops with an increase in separation from existing sensitive uses. You have something you want to say before we go further?
Thank you, Councilmember Goebel. I would just add that the draft ordinance, as it was structured, had the 2 options that were in there. So you could move forward with the ordinance as drafted, but striking any changes to the increase in square footage, and then that would allow you to move forward with the ordinance portion that includes relocation.
I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but
That is correct. So if if your motion is to leave the code as is for the 16 cubic feet, you would be making a motion to approve the ordinance with the deletion of alternative 1 and alternative 2 in the ordinance, and the other remaining provisions remain.
okay. So I will make a motion to accept the draft ordinance in the agenda, deleting options 1 and options 2 and keeping everything else the same. That has the effect of keeping the 16 cubic feet as it is and allowing the new relocation opportunity.
Correct.
That's my motion.
Please vote.
Motion carries by a 3-1 vote with Council Member Ortiz voting no.
Okay, the next public hearing is, yes.
Sorry, that was the CEQA resolution, just for the California Environmental Quality Act exemption. So we would just be asking the council for a motion to approve the CEQA exemption.
I will make a motion that we approve the CEQA exemption as staff has recommended.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Okay, Counselor, thank you for keeping me out of trouble. The next public hearing is item 7 for the second reading and adoption of the California Building Standards and related codes. Staff will tell us about this.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So still Noah Alvey, Community Development Department. Again, this is just a public hearing and second ordinance readings to adopt by reference the California Building Codes.
I'm sorry, could I, Mr. Deputy Mayor? If I remember, this is about a 10-minute read for the city clerk. And I wonder if it would be better for the public if we move up the item 8. Because I think there's some people here specifically for the easement on Swallow Drive.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
That'll save them 10 minutes of listening to code.
Yeah, that's pretty awful.
Do we need to
actually.
vote on the agenda change? I'll make a motion to move up agenda item 8 as our next agenda item.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Thanks, Steve.
Hi, good afternoon. Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick, council members, Yasmin Arellano, Director of Engineering Services, and I would like to introduce Ms. We're trying to connect wirelessly. I would like to introduce Ms. Rebecca Villalobos, Associate Engineer overseeing our Private Development Division and Engineering Services. Ms. Villalobos will present this item, including background information and staff's recommendation for council consideration.
Thank you, Yasmin. Good afternoon, good evening, I guess, Honorable Mayor and Honorable Mayor Pro Temp and council members. As Yasmin said, my name is Rebecca Villalobos. I am the Associate Engineer in charge of Private Development in the Engineering Services Department. I'm here today to speak about the request to vacate an easement on Swallow Drive. As shown on the screen, the lot in question today is Lot B. It was created with the subdivision 5502 in 1964. As you can see by the geometry, it was initially intended to be a public street. In 1982, it had still not been used as a street, so it was brought before City Council to vacate that right-of-way, that potential public street. City Council then decided and agreed to vacate that easement, except they held two easements still. One was for Helix Water District. They have recently vacated on request of the owner, and the second was an easement for the City of El Cajon, which was for a future easement road. Shown on the screen is a map. You can see the same street outline of Lot B, and the yellow portion is what was retained by the city as a future easement, or easement for a future easement road. Earlier this year, staff received a request from the owner of the Lot B parcel to vacate the easement. It went under review by Fire, Community Development, and Engineering Services. Through their review, it was determined that there were no objections by city staff to the vacation request from the owner, and there was no current or future planned use for this easement by the city. Therefore, staff is recommending, consistent with the owner's recommendation, to vacate the easement. The recommendation is as follows: 1, to open the public hearing and receive testimony; 2, to subsequently close the public hearing; and then 3, adopt a resolution that would approve the summary vacation of the easement road. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions of staff?
Yes. Sorry. What's going to happen to that property after we release the easement?
Yes, so this kind of twofold. First, this request is specifically to speak about the easement. Any subsequent action to future development would be a question for community development and the processes that the lot would need to conform to.
Okay, so this doesn't affect residents' property lines or anything?
No, correct. So I'm going to go back to that first slide. So you can see on the screen, 1647 is the lot to the north. We are just specifically talking about Lot B. It won't change anything. It won't guarantee a right to develop or anything. It is simply the vacation.
And right now, it's just a trail for the kids to
Currently,
walk on and everything.
It's a vacant lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
But vacant lot, no, not owned by the city. We just have the easement.
All right, thank you. Any other questions of staff? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Good job. Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing. No.
We have one speaker, sir, from it's Kurt Crook.
Good evening, Council. Excuse me. Thank you for this opportunity to discuss the resolution in front of you. My name is Kurt Crook. I live at 1623 Swallow Drive. This property was from the inception designated as a road, and currently today it is a road. It's being used by HOA to maintain 50 acres of open space. It's also an area that has a certain amount of history to it. As indicated, 1964 it was created as a road, but since then several things have happened. The home that I'm currently in, prior to that, that home was destroyed by a mudslide. The property then was acquired, it was regraded, and then it basically came back as a new development or a new home that was installed roughly in 2000. The HOA, as I said before, uses the road, uses the access through this area to maintain the property. The U.S. Geological Society also uses this access road to be able to monitor the birds that are in that location. The road is constantly maintained by myself. For the last 18 years, I have kept the weeds, the brush, picked up trash. I've installed security lighting for this area. So primarily from my vantage point, the owner of the property, and since the last 60 years, this piece of property has been abandoned. So 1964 to today, nothing has been done with this area. The area is home to wildlife, raccoons, coyotes, squirrels, owls, red-tailed hawks, reptiles. I'm a little concerned about the issue of the property itself. The property is zoned RS9. That means that any development has to occur on a minimum size lot of 9,000 square feet. That lot is 5,900 square feet. Now my concern is, what is the homeowner going to do with that lot? If it doesn't meet RS9 requirements, what are his options? And I'm concerned that it's going to be used for something other than what's designated as RS9. I didn't receive notice on this. I found the notice taped to a sign for the HOA. And had I not been picking up trash and removing debris from that lot, I would have missed it altogether. I would have missed this meeting. I wouldn't have been able to come here to voice my opposition to this resolution. I think that's something that probably needs to be addressed at a later date, but I would like the opportunity to discuss how we get notification for these types of things. I respectfully request that the council postpone the approval of this abatement or this easement removal until I have an opportunity to seek legal counsel. Sorry about that. And I would also like the council, if at all possible, to go with me to walk this property so I can show you exactly what is involved with the land. Now, I know the fire department has signed off on it. I know other people have signed off on it. But honestly, if you look at where this property is and the easement to get back to the 50 acres in the event of an emergency, it would be extremely difficult if that property is fenced off or closed off. If you go down to Australia and you look up on that bank, that's a huge task to get fire hose and equipment up there. So again, my request is, please, if you wouldn't mind, let's postpone this, allow me to get legal advice on this.
Sir, you're actually the owner of that property, though, aren't you?
I am not. I'm the owner of 1623 Swallow Drive. That property is next door to mine.
Okay, and who owns that?
It's a gentleman named Bryant, Johnny Bryant. They've owned it for 1982. Nothing's been done on that property since 1982, since their ownership.
Well, thank you
My
for
property
maintaining it.
has been regraded because of the home that was destroyed there. My property has been regraded, and it
Yeah.
was graded much differently than how original home that was sitting on that lot.
I'm familiar with that. That's expansive soil area. I have the same in my
Right,
neighborhood.
exactly.
In Fletcher Hills. I don't have any problem with delaying this. Oh, wait, I got to close the public hearing.
Oh.
Is that everything you wanted to say?
Yes, and I'm sorry for the voice. I lost it.
I understand.
Okay.
Don't be nervous. We're all friends here.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Any other speakers?
No other speakers, sir.
Okay. Oh, okay. Do you want to come up and talk? Do you want to put in a card?
It's been in my family for decades. I'm just trying to figure out what I should do with it. I've been paying property taxes on it forever, so has my father. And my father, it was his, obviously, and he passed away in 2021. So I
Okay.
took it over. So that's the only, and my father did a lot of earthwork on that piece of property. We actually used to own, the gentleman that just spoke, we used to own his lot also.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you.
I have a question for him, if you don't mind.
Excuse me, sir, could you come back?
Mr. Bryant, would a postponement create any kind of a hardship for you?
No, I've had it for all these years.
Okay. Would you object to a postponement of a month?
Not at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, move to close the public hearing. Please vote. Okay.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Well, I'm waiting for a motion.
I'll move that we table this item until the November 18th City Council meeting. That would give approximately 4 weeks to resolve any issues. That seems like that would work for everybody.
Second.
Please vote. That motion passes.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Okay. You're getting your exercise coming up
Yes.
here all the time.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Appreciate that. Noah Alvey again from the Community Development Department. This public hearing item is related to the second ordinance readings related to the 2025 California Building Code or the California Building Standards. Again, these are revised on a multi-year cycle, typically every 3 years. We do have some local edits to our code. These are the same local edits that we did to our code 3 years ago. It's just to establish expiration times for building plan reviews, as well as putting in some regulations for fee refunds, and then establishing thresholds for repair or remodel projects. The proposed ordinances, with reference to the 2025 California Building Codes, first ordinance readings happened at the previous City Council meeting on October 14th. So today we're asking you to conduct the public hearing and then to move forward with the second ordinance readings. One point of clarification is that some additional edits to the California Fire Code and references to the International Code were deemed to be necessary. So we pulled out the Fire Code from the public hearing, and that's a separate item number 17 on your agenda this evening. So with that, we are requesting that you open the public hearing and conduct the public hearing, and then adopt by reference the 2025 editions of the Building Code.
Okay.
That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions? Public hearing is now open.
We have no speaker card, sir.
Motion to close public hearing.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Okay. Council members?
I believe we need to make a motion to adopt the 2025 additions to California Building Code as outlined in our staff report, item 7.
It would be a motion to approve all of the ordinances that adopt these 2025 additions.
Okay, so yeah, I'll amend my motion to adopt them as outlined in the staff recommendations.
Vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. And the titles to the ordinances read, the California Building Code, an ordinance repealing sections 15.040.010, 15.04.050, 15.04.070, 15.04.080, 15.04.100, and 15.04.105 of Chapter 15.04 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, and adopting sections 15.04.010, 15.04.050, 15.04.070, 15.04.080, 15.04.100, and 15.04.105 to Chapter 15.04 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, adopting the California Building Code 2025 edition as amended by reference. The California Electrical Code, an ordinance repealing section 15.20.010 of Chapter 15.20 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, adopting the California Electrical Code 2025 edition as amended by reference, and adding a new section 15.20.010 of Chapter 15.20 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code. The California Mechanical Code, an ordinance repealing sections 15.48.010 and 15.48.050 of Chapter 15.48 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, adopting the California Mechanical Code 2025 edition is amended by reference, and adding new sections 15.48.010 and 15.48.050 of Chapter 15.48 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code. California Plumbing Code, an ordinance repealing sections 15.52.010 and 15.52.050 of Chapter 15.52 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, adopting the California Plumbing Code 2025 edition as amended by reference, and adding new sections 15.52.010 and 15.52.050 of Chapter 15.52 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code. California Residential Code, an ordinance repealing sections 15.54.010 and 15.54.030 of Chapter 15.54 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, adopting the California Residential Code 2025 edition as amended by reference, and adopting new sections 15.54.010 and 15.54.030 to Chapter 15.54 to Title 15. California Green Building Standards Code, an ordinance repealing section 15.60.010 of Chapter 15.60 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, and adopting the California Green Building Standards 2025 edition as amended by reference, and adding a new section 15.60.010 of Chapter 15.60 of the Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code. California Historical Building Code, an ordinance repealing section 15.88.010 of Chapter 15.88 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, adopting the California Historical Building Code 2025 edition as amended by reference, and adding a new section 15.88.010 of Chapter 15.88 of Title 15 to the El Cajon Municipal Code. California Existing Building Code, an ordinance repealing section 15.84.010 of Chapter 15.84 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, adopting the California Existing Building Code 2025 edition as amended by reference, and adding a new section 15.84.010 of Chapter 15.84 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, California Wildland Urban Interface Code, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of El Cajon adding a new chapter 15.57 to the El Cajon Municipal Code, adopting the California Wildland Urban Interface Code 2025 edition by reference. And the last one, California Fire Hazard Severity Zones Code, an ordinance repealing section 15.86.010 of chapter 15.86 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, and adopting section 15.86.010 to chapter 15.86 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, designating very high fire hazard severity zones and wildland urban interface areas within its jurisdictional boundaries.
Good job, Angela. Wow. You did better than the guy I listened to when I listened to books on tape. So there's another, after retirement, there's another job available for you. Okay, we have no commission reports on today's agenda. Item 12 is my activities report.
Sir, we still need to do administrative report number 9.
Right, but I took pity on you, and I'm going to go through all this, then we go back to 9.
Okay.
So you can only talk so much. Okay, activity reports of council members. Councilmember Goebel.
As reported.
And mine are also as reported. Councilmember Michelle.
As reported, I do want to add that I attended the Rec Council banquet and awards this past Saturday.
Okay. Councilmember Phil Ortiz.
As reported, I did not attend the chili cook-off, though.
Okay. There are no joint council member reports, no general information items. And Angela, you're up. Have you recovered?
Point of order, Mr. Pro Tem, we still have a administrative report, an update on neighborhood streetlight installation projects.
Item 9 and item 11.
And a fiscal year 25-26,
Okay,
item 11.
Let's do item 9.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick, council members, Yasmin Arellano, Director of Engineering Services. As part of the 2025 City Council Action Plan, one of our goals under city infrastructure is to enhance neighborhood safety through targeted capital improvement projects, including the installation of new streetlights in residential areas using both Community Development Block Grant and Capital Improvement Project funds. Mr. Raul Armenta, Associate Engineer in our Traffic Engineering Division, will give us an update today on the progress of this neighborhood streetlight installation projects.
Thank you, Jasmine. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. I'm presenting a general overview and progress of the installation of city streetlights. What we have here is just an overview of the city streetlights shown on the council districts. We have approximately 2,742 concrete and decorative streetlights, city-owned and maintained. And also we have approximately 1,100 San Diego Gas and Electric streetlights, mostly on wooden poles. Over here we have the Community Development Black Grant, and shows the different districts. This is where we are able, the yellow area is the area we're able to use community development block grants and installation of streetlights. Next. Phase 1 back in 2021, we bid a project completed in 2022. We're able to install 26 new streetlights that were done on Mollison, First Street, Orlando, and Shady, just north of Main Street. Next. Phase 2, completed in 2024. It was a total of 34 new streetlights. It was conducted on Millar, Ridgefield, and Richardson, and some on Palm Street, actually some decorative streets on Palm Street. Next. This is the most current project that's been completed. This is the Phase 3 for 43 new streetlights around Millar, Ridgefield, Johnson, Lexington, Orange, Prescott, Jefferson, Clydell, and Taft. Next. This is the Phase 4. We are eagerly awaiting, actually we just executed a contract, so we're eagerly awaiting the installation of 22 new street lights along Sunshine, Sandalwood, Lincoln, and Mollison, north of Greenfield, and the northerly city limit. Next. This is the Phase 5. It is under design, anticipated to be completed in 2027. We're proposing 30 streetlights around LaRue, June, Ann, First Street, Evilo, Roberta, Roselle, and Wayne Avenue. Next. Where we below the next slides, I will show where we have incorporated streetlights enhancement of part of capital improvement projects. What we have here is the Madison Avenue Safety Improvement Project. It was completed in 2024. We added 54 new streetlights along Madison between Johnson all the way to 2nd Street. And this was part of the Highway Safety Improvement Program grant. Next. This is the El Cajon Boulevard streetscape, or as we know it, the roundabout. Completed this year. We added 24 new streetlights, and it was part of the Smart Road Incentive Program. Next. Main Street, Green Street, completed also in 2025. We added 13 streetlights on Main Street, a portion of Marshall, and also part of the Smart Road Incentive Program. Next. This is the Oakdale Alameda Street Beautification Project, estimated to be completed this year. Installed 22 new streetlights on Walter Way, alley between Oakdale and Madison, and Oakdale. And it was part of the Clean California local grant program. Next. So in summary, we've been able to install 250 new streetlights from 2021 to 2025. As I mentioned, we're working on the new Phase 4, designing Phase 5, and those two projects will bring 50 new streetlights. We will continue to evaluate streetlight gaps with resident input and field assessments. We will continue to pursue community development block grant and other grants to expand our street light program. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Thank you for your report. Phase 4, can you tell me again? I didn't hear. Phase 4 is from where to where?
So Phase 4 on Mollison specifically.
Okay, Mollison from Greenfield?
North of Greenfield.
Okay.
To the northerly city limit.
Okay, so almost up to Pepper Drive.
Correct.
And is that in conjunction with Transnet and Caltrans project on the Bradley widening project? Because I noticed they have all the street poles are in the property right on the corner of the southwest corner of Mollison and Bradley.
Our limit is just south of the project.
Okay.
So I obviously took into account the new intersection that's coming in there.
Yeah, they're going to be putting in some lights, but if you go past that, that's great too, because it's really dark. I live right there.
Yes, I know.
If you can't tell. And it is pitch black up towards there, and we do have a lot of accidents, people, running the stop sign, the dip, and then going into the street just north, or, Mollison just north of Bradley. So they're coming in this year.
So the lead time on the poles could be between 3 and 5 months.
Okay.
I need to get a discussion with the contractor.
So maybe 6 months from now or so?
Correct.
Okay. Perfect. I will let my people know. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take Phil and then Steve.
Thank you for your report. Can you just walk us through a little bit regarding how we identify the gaps and the priority level, and just briefly explain that process?
Sure. So obviously, when I go through it's based on community input.
Okay.
Also, it's based on the gaps, and the way that we know about the gaps is we have a GIS layer. So if we have something 75 feet between intersections, there's more than that, and then that creates a gap.
Okay. 75 feet is classified as a gap.
In between intersections, 150 feet.
In between intersections, got it.
So when
okay.
we do our radius, that's sort of like, it lets us know if we have gaps.
That's one of the first qualifiers for what you look at.
Well, the first qualifier would be making sure that it's within the CDBG area.
Eligible area. Okay.
Correct.
I got it. And then after that, the next tier is the gaps.
Correct.
Okay.
And also, resident input. We always getting it correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Very helpful. Thank you.
Speaking from input of the public, thank you. I noticed no new lights have been in District 3, which does have some CDBG eligible areas. As you presented FY 22, 23, 24, 25. So does that mean that District 3 is already good and doesn't need any more?
Very good question, correct. We're working towards that side. I identified a certain area, and we I don't want to, we will look into that area.
Okay.
But I've identified that area, sir.
Although I did see some District 3 projects up there, right?
I didn't see them.
Oh, I thought number 5 was a District 3 project, right? That's not in District 3?
That's Michelle.
Okay.
There's nothing east of 2nd Street. And there, Walter Way and the mobile home park behind Walter Way is a CDBG census area. So we have been accommodating for the past 4 years to let others have lights. I would like to see lights in District 3 in CDBG eligible areas sooner than later.
Understood.
Thank you.
Yeah, let there be light in District 3.
Well, let there be fairness too. I have to argue for the people who are in CDBG eligible areas. They're low-income areas, and I fight for them too.
Understood.
Including their safety at night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any cards for this?
There are no speaker cards, sir.
Public hearing. Let's vote on the closing of public hearing.
Point of order, I don't believe.
Oh,
This is
okay.
just an information report.
Okay.
So
information only. You can go to item 11.
Okay. Okay, item 11.
Poor guy.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. My name is Autumn Rieberger. I'm the Principal Fiscal Analyst for the City of El Cajon in the Finance Department. Today, I will be discussing the fiscal year 25-26 first quarter report. In this evening's presentation, I will go over the fiscal year 24-25 preliminary general fund results. City Manager Graham Mitchell will discuss the SAFER grant financial implications. I will resume with the fiscal year 2025-26 general fund sales tax update, as well as the budget amendments and reporting timelines. Looking at the preliminary ending fiscal year 2024-25 general fund balances, I'd like to point out our revenue actuals. This is slightly skewed due to an adjustment made to book unrealized gains and losses as required by GASB 31. This amount is usually insignificant. However, this year's adjustment was for $2.6 million, which distorted the actual performance and net impact. To get a better picture of the city's actual performance, this adjustment has been removed from the remainder of this presentation. This is the same information, just with that adjustment removed. You can see our actual net impact was closer to being balanced, with an increase to fund balance just below $800,000. Taking a look at the fiscal year 24-25 general fund revenues, as expected, all major revenue sources were soft. However, this shortfall was made up by our other revenue sources, particularly in the use of money and property, where our investment revenues were higher than anticipated. Taking a look at the fiscal year 24-25 general fund expenditures, all departments, with the exception of fire, came in under budget, and Parks and Recreation was topping the list, ending the year with a 12.5% budget savings. Fire is shown as a 0% change because we were able to use budget savings from police to cover the overage in their year-end totals, thus keeping public safety as a whole under budget. All totaled, this resulted in a general fund budget savings of $2.7 million. I would like to turn the next part of this presentation over to City Manager Graham Mitchell to discuss the SAFER grant.
Thanks, Mr. Reberger. So I wanted to bring up some issues about the SAFER grant. It does have some implications into the current budget year, but also has some implications as we think forward into the next agenda cycle. So as you recall, the City Council gave some direction to staff to implement Engine 208 with a full complement of 9 firefighters, or 3 firefighters, 3 engineers, and 3 captains. And that's, we got direction at that time as well to apply for the SAFER grant. As you recall, the first round of our application, we were not approved. So we went back with a second application, and we were successful. One of the ways that helped us be successful is we committed that we would pony up 1/3 of the cost of that project, or at least I should say 1/3 of the firefighter personnel for that project. Because the SAFER grant does not pay for all costs associated with running an Engine 208, we take on those 3 plus some additional costs. I'll show those to you in a second. In fact, I'll show it to you right now. So if we go to the next slide. So this shows in year 1, the FEMA grant or the SAFER grant paid by FEMA will cover about $750,000. El Cajon's portion for year 1 is $1.4 million. That will carry over in year 2. Assuming there are raises, those numbers will increase a little bit. Year 3, the federal portion goes down to a little over $300,000. Ours, then the city's, goes up to $1.8 million. And then in year 4, we pick up the $2.2 million. Go to the next slide. So what this means, just so eyes wide open, we go into the next 4 years. It's a $6.8 million commitment to fund Engine 8, even with the SAFER grant, which is great. We're glad we got the SAFER grant. It helps soften that cushion, but it's still a large commitment. So over 5 years, it ends up being about $9 million. I bring this up because if revenues stay soft, we'll have to figure out a couple options, either additional cuts elsewhere, use of the reserves, looking at other revenue sources, or thinking about how to utilize money maybe more efficiently to provide fire coverage rather than a standalone fire engine. So those are some of the things. It's premature to have that conversation, but I thought that it would be good to get it onto the City Council's radar. So if you're thinking about it, we want you to know that we're contemplating what are our options going to be if revenues stay soft and if we can't come up with additional cuts somewhere in the budget. So with that, we can answer other questions when Autumn is done with her presentation. We can go back and look at these slides more.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. I'm going to move on to the current fiscal year. Sales taxes starting fiscal year 2025-26 with some encouraging numbers, as the year-to-date is up 1.7% from expectations and is 2.8% higher than the same point last year. However, we are still very early in the year, and we will have a better picture of where our sales tax numbers stand once we're past the holidays. The amendments for the fiscal year 25-26 budget that we're looking at this evening is for Prop O projects. In fiscal year 2020 to 21, Council approved $3.5 million in Prop O funding for renovations to Fire Station 7. As that project scope is currently being reevaluated and other funding options are being explored, the roll-up bay doors at several fire stations are in need of significant repairs or replacements. The remaining balance of Prop O funds is less than what is needed for the doors project. With the support of the Prop O Citizens Oversight Committee, staff is requesting a reduction of the Station 7 renovation in order to appropriate the full amount of funds needed for the fire station bay doors through Prop O. Additional funds are also being requested for outfitting of one new fire truck that is already in our possession, as well as attachments for skid steers. There are also some personnel adjustments. Engineering Services and Public Works are increasing their focus on wastewater services and requesting a total of 4 new positions: a wastewater operations manager, 2 wastewater associate civil engineers, and a wastewater management assistant. These 4 positions will be fully funded by the wastewater fund. Human Resources is also requesting some housekeeping for 2 of their positions with no additional appropriations being requested. This is a breakdown by fund of the impact the proposed amendments will have, and as you can see, there is no general fund impact. Looking at the fiscal year 2025-26 reporting timeline, we will be back in December of 2025 with the annual pension report. We also anticipate being here in December for the 5-year business plan update. The annual comprehensive financial report will be presented in January of 2026, and the mid-year report in March of 2026. We will be back for the fiscal year 2026-27 annual budget in June of 2026. At this time, we ask that the City Council increase or modify the fiscal year 2025-26 appropriations, authorize the proposed personnel changes, and authorize the proposed capital expenditures as detailed in this report. And that concludes our presentation.
Council have any questions or comments? Okay, Steve.
The wastewater, the 4 additional people to the wastewater fund, is that related to the advanced water purification coming online?
No, this is as the council has prudently looked at how much deferred maintenance we have on the system. We've stocked money away for that, but we just don't have. We have the funds. We don't have the staff capacity to get these projects done. So this is all about CIP related to our existing plant here, our system here, not so much the future plant.
Okay, do you think that will affect wastewater rates next year because we have more people?
It shouldn't, because we have that built in already, and our goal is once those projects start ratcheting down, then we'll use attrition to lower those staffing levels when they're no longer needed.
It feels like we're kind of hitting the pause button on Station 7.
Not at all. It's actually moving forward pretty quickly. In fact, I mean, Ms. Ariano can report on where we're at. We have plans. They've gone to the building department. We've kicked it back to the architect. And where the timing is from there, Ms. Ariano can explain.
So he almost gave the full report. So yes, we have plans completed. We're under second plan check review. They went in for a building permit already. So we should be having a project out to bid pretty soon.
But you seem to say it cost more than you thought it would, and you're asking for a $207,000 reduction so that you can put that towards immediate needs and roll-up doors.
Yeah.
Are we going to have to come back with that 207,000 later?
Absolutely. We're gonna have to come up with money for Station 7 someplace. And I'll come back to that in a second. But we have an immediate need today. We have money available. So let's use the money for that, and then we'll cobble together other monies for the station. The station also is easier to get grant money for. In fact, through Ms. Adiano's work and the fire department's work, we're expecting to get about $1.5 million from the River Conservancy for Station 7. So we're coming up with some other funds that will help augment Station 7. So Station 7's development shouldn't be hindered by this reallocation of Propo money.
Yeah, that's probably good, because, my gosh, that's been in the queue for 4 or 5 years. I don't know what the delay was, but I'm glad to hear it's moving forward. Thank you.
Sorry, could I
Yeah,
ask a question?
Phil.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Mr. Kendrick.
I'll go by Mr. Pro Tem.
Mr. Pro Tem, I
I've
don't know
been
what that
called
was.
Much worse.
So the addition of staff, are their salaries funded by our wastewater fund?
Yes, which we have funding for.
Okay. It's a lot. It's a big salary jump for it total, where it's almost 700 grand.
Correct. There's a couple ways to skin the cat.
Okay.
One is we bring our own staff in to manage these projects, or we contract it all out and have a contractor do it. One way or the other, you're going to spend that money.
Okay.
Right? We think that having it internally in-house does a couple things. One, it gives us some more control, and we'd have to actually bring on staff to manage the contractor.
Okay.
But the other thing it does is when we have attrition, let's say we have an amazing engineer that works not in wastewater leave the city, we can use this as a talent pool to bring them onto the other side of the house. So it gives us some staffing capacity into the future.
I appreciate that, and that satisfies me for that. So we're relying on attrition to continue keeping us in budget, right?
Yeah. So
once we have a buildup of CIP funds for wastewater projects.
We have this bubble. That's right.
Once we get done with it, then attrition is going to be the.
We don't need to have 4 staff to manage.
That's the answer I wanted.
One CIP
Great.
project.
That's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Angela, do we have any speaker cards?
No speaker card, sir.
Okay, is there any further discussion, or would someone like to proceed with a motion?
I'll move that we that increase or modify the FY 25-26 appropriations as outlined in the staff report, that we authorize the proposed personnel changes outlined in the staff report, and authorize the proposed capital expenditures in the staff report.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Okay, now we go over to item 7, where Angela has a marathon report here. Take a deep breath. Oh, is it 17? Okay, first reading of 17. Item 17 is a first reading of ordinance to adopt by reference the 2025 California Fire Code. I'll ask staff to introduce the item.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Again, this item was removed from the public hearing earlier on the agenda. This is the first reading of the California Fire Code, so we're just asking the City Council now to introduce the ordinance and hold the first reading of the 2025 edition of the California Fire Code, and then to request that the City Clerk recite the ordinance by title only, and then to schedule the public hearing for November 18th of 2025.
Does council have any questions or comments? No. Angela, do we have any speaker cards?
No speaker card, sir.
Is there a further discussion, or would someone like to proceed with a motion?
I'll make a motion to introduce the ordinance and hold the first reading to adopt the 2025 edition of California Fire Code and request the city clerk to recite the ordinance by title only and direct the city clerk to schedule a public hearing on November 18th.
Vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present, and the title for introduction is an ordinance repealing sections 15.56.010 and 15.56.050 of Chapter 15.56 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code, adopting the California Fire Code 2025 edition as amended by reference, and adding new sections 15.56.010 and 15.56.050 of Chapter 15.56 of Title 15 of the El Cajon Municipal Code.
Okay. And we're moving to 7 now, right? Oh, wait, what do we have to do? Oh, okay.
Adjournment.
Okay, but I do want to say, before we adjourn the meeting, we have an announcement for the November meeting. Our regularly scheduled meeting for November 11th falls on a holiday. Therefore, we will hold a special meeting on November 18th, and now the adjourned regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council Housing Authority successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment AG held this 28th day of October 2025 is adjourned to Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 3 p.m. Okay, now we're adjourned.